people need to understand that just because you happen to be a part of a marginalized community, when you start to look at the breakdown of the different intersections, you tend to see different lived experiences. We're going to go ahead and get started here, guys. And again, if you are interested in joining the conversation, you can go ahead and request up. Again, this is late nights, and all are welcome. Keep tapping the screen, keep sharing the live. We only got 2 shares, and I know I was one of them. Let's get the shares up, guys. Listen, we don't want to spam share, right? So if everyone can share maybe twice, right, that will help push us out to the FYP and get more people in here for the conversation. I'm going to bring a couple more people in. And as I start to bring people in, if you could mute yourself, we're going to go ahead and start to get to the conversation. First and foremost, Lady P, how are you?
What's going on?
Lady P, got a question for you. And you've been here with us as we continue to go down the different rabbit hole, well, not different, but the rabbit hole of intersectionality and how that affects different people differently. Lady P, looking at the topics on the background, what are you most excited about either learning about or speaking about this week with the different topics we have?
I think the one I think the one that's like a biggest to me right now is definitely race and queerness. I really don't know what you mean by closeted survival.
Ooh. Okay.
But I mean, I may know what it is when you explain it, but I don't know what you mean by that at the current moment. But race and queerness for sure. I just finished my YouTube video about Black queer people that contribute to Black history, and I'm gonna put that up in a second. But yeah, so that's the big one.
Okay. Perfect. 1 second. Frey, how are you?
Good. How are you, Santana?
Wonderful. Frey, welcome back. Frey, so your question is going to be a little bit different. So you were on the panel last night, and so you actually got an opportunity to dive into the topic. So I want to know, as far as the topic that you spoke or we spoke about last night, which one for you do you want to actually revisit because you feel like either you didn't get to speak enough about it or you feel like you want to continue to learn about it?
I would like to speak more about proximity to and
Mm,
also closeted survival because I feel like not enough people either understand what we're talking about when we say that, or they just don't know what it means. Like
yeah,
they've never heard the term. So
yeah. No, absolutely. Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, Nikki, welcome back. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
Wonderful. Nikki, you were here last night. So same question that I just had for Frey. Which topic from the conversation that we've already gotten started with do you actually want to either revisit because you feel like we that you didn't get to speak to the topic enough, or you feel like it's something that you want to learn more about?
The speaking up versus speaking over.
Ooh, that's a good one. Perfect. Give me a second here. Maxine, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm good.
Wonderful. Maxine, question for you. As we continue to go down the rabbit hole of intersectionality, we have multiple topics on the background. Which one are you most interested in either learning about or speaking about?
Closeted survival.
Okay, perfect. Give me 1 second here. Falcon, how are you?
Hello.
Falcon, as we continue to go down the path of intersectionality, which topic on the background are you most excited about either learning about or speaking about this week?
I am interested in learning about closeted survival, and I love talking about race and queerness, and sort of the cultural divides we see within our own community, when it comes to queer people also often being anti-Black.
Okay. Perfect. Give me 1 second here. And last but not least, I think it's pronounced Nooklin. Is that how do you say your username, friend?
Николин.
Say it again.
Николин.
Nukulin.
Yeah, I'm European, but like I traced it back. Like, come to find out, like I might be a little bit Jewish.
Oh, okay, okay. Can I call you Nick? Is that okay?
That's fine. They're perfectly fine with me.
Okay. I just don't want to keep butchering your names. I'm horrible with names, like really bad. Nick, question for you as we continue to go down the rabbit hole of intersectionality, which topic on the background are you most excited to either learn about this week or speak about?
Well, me personally, like I support like everything, you know.
Hmm.
100%. Like, because like every day they try and put you in the box, you know, like, and they want to fight over like every specific topic, you know. So I support like
No. I think you might be a little confused. I'm talking about like the topics on the
yeah,
background. We
yeah.
have
I support like all four topics.
no, right. No. I'm not saying which one you support. I'm saying which one are you either excited to talk about or
If I name one, like they're gonna follow and be like, oh, you support this one, and they're gonna attack me. So I support. I say to
no.
make it
Hold,
easy for them.
Nick, slow down for half a second for me. It's not about supporting the topics. It's about because we're genuinely here for an actual
No, okay, I
learning
understand.
experience. And so you can just like if you have one specifically that you know, like, oh, I know about this one and I want to have this conversation, then you can say, oh, it's this one. Or if you don't know about one and you're like, I really want to learn
I
about this one.
bet I say like, what's the topic like? Number three, like with the two lines. What does it say?
It says speaking up versus speaking over.
Yeah, so that's like a feminine trait that there should be like uh, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Nick, give me a second here. All right, guys. We're gonna go ahead and get to it. If you could, guys, keep tapping the screen, share the live. What is this doing? Let's do this. Share the live. Just a couple of quick things, a couple of reminders for the panel, guys. As we have these conversations, please be mindful and use TikTok friendly language. What does that mean? That means using words like pew pew, unalive, mustache man, C19, all of those words that will allow you to actually continue to have that have the conversation and protect not only your TikTok but also the live. Also, guys, please be mindful that this is a safe and friendly community. What does that mean? That means that we don't deal with any of the isms, racism, sexism, classism. We also don't do
I love
any of
your
the
show. I
phobias.
love your show. You're the best. Like
Okay,
on
thank you, Nick.
TikTok.
I'm gonna put you on mute for just a second here. We also don't do any of the phobias, homophobias, transphobia, none of that. We don't play that on the panel nor in the chat. Speaking of the chat, please be mindful of using caps. Caps are for mods. It will draw my attention away from the panel and to the chat, and we do not want to do that because we're having an amazing, important discussion this week. With that being said, guys, keep tapping the screen. Let's go ahead and get the likes up to 50,000 likes. We do have a nightly donation goal. I don't know what's going on with the sticker. I'm trying to get there it is. Okay. We'll get the sticker up here. We do have a nightly donation goal of $250. So if you enjoy the information, education, entertainment, and you would like to actually support the live, you can do so. All the pay links are in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24 is the best way to support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything's appreciated. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started here. And if anyone would like to actually join the conversation, you can request up and we will get started. All right. So I'm going to come to you first, Lady P, and I want to keep it short because I want to see I'm specifically I want to come to people that didn't have an opportunity to actually speak on this last night because I want to find out what this means to you. Lady P, when we talk about people who look at themselves as accomplices and people who say they want to advocate for marginalized communities, what's one thing that you would want them to know as far as this is how you speak up on behalf of me, and this is what you do if you cross the line and you start to speak over me?
Like, I mean, Just don't talk while I talk. It's just gonna be that simple. Like I feel like if you, I feel like anybody can like make the whatever point that they want to make, but you're just not gonna talk while I talk.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
It's
Uh,
not.
all right. Give me a second. Maxine. I'm sorry, Maxine. Maxine. Same
Hi.
question for you. What do you feel like if you want someone to actually be an advocate for you, where is the line? What's something that they should know as far as speaking up versus speaking over you?
Yeah.
Um, well, from my personal experience as like a person of color, there's always like something you're not really doing wrong, but there's something that like you just get these stares on top of, like, let's say you're in the LGBTQ plus community and it's open and in the public, you get more stares, you get looked at differently.
Okay.
So like just be mindful of that. And it's really hard for like LGBTQ plus people in general. And then you add on like potential I don't know if I can say racism, but
You can
that.
definitely say racism. Also, your mic is like, I don't know what's going on. You sound kind of low or away or something. So
Yeah,
there's
sorry,
that as well.
I was feeding my baby bird,
Oh, okay.
so I set my phone down.
Okay. All right. Perfect, perfect. Give me just a moment here. Falcon. Falcon, coming to you. If someone is looking to be an actual advocate for you, where is the line? What do you tell them to ensure that they are speaking up for you versus speaking over you?
Um, I see this in book talk spaces a lot, where a lot of people will share trends and ideas and things like that without crediting the people who came up with it. And if you're, and specifically like in book talk, they'll do like book trends for African American History Month or for like the queer community during Pride and things like that. And
Mm,
I think that it's important to join in and share in that advocacy, both online and in person. But it's also important to credit the Black and queer, not only creators, but authors that make that happen. And I think you start to speak over people when you're talking about groups of people that you're not personally a part of, and you're not crediting the actual individuals that have either given you the knowledge or created these trends. And I'm just talking
yeah.
about online, stuff. It
Yeah.
gets different when we're talking about in person.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's a lot to be said as far as making sure, especially if you share wisdom or knowledge, and a lot of people can pull from that. You want to make sure that you're sharing that source because there's certain people that have the opportunity to grow, and that's definitely something. Okay, give me a
I
second
want to
here.
say,
What? Wait, oh, 1 second. Nick, coming to you. Nick,
Okay.
if you want to actually be an advocate for someone, what does that look like? How do you ensure that you are speaking up for them versus speaking over them?
Okay. So like so like me personally, support my flow and don't do nothing I would not do. And then like if not if I'm not around, I want like my dynasty like to continue.
I'm not gonna lie, friend. I have no idea what you mean with
So
what you
like
just said.
if I'm away, like they can't stop. You know.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
So like sometimes like 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 my approach to things is it might get me locked up. You know. I might go so hard, I might not be around. You know. But
Oh,
for the
okay.
folks
Like
next
you're
line,
saying, you're saying in the sense that you want to
continue.
actually, yeah, you want to make sure that you find the line and not do too much. Is that what you're saying?
Like pretty much, like what I'm saying. But I don't want like like I want people to follow what my belief.
Okay. All right. All right. Give me a second here. We're Give me a second. All right. Let's see. We got two new people on the panel. So I'm gonna start with Jason. Jason, how are you? Wonderful, wonderful. Jason, as we continue to go down the path of intersectionality, what topic on the background are you most excited to either speak about or learn about?
I think race and queerness in
Okay,
particular.
okay. Perfect, perfect. Give me 1 second. And Jess, how are you?
You.
Wonderful, wonderful. Jess, as we continue down the road of learning about different intersectionalities, what topic on the background are you most excited to speak about or learn about?
So I'm always constantly learning about the speaking up versus speaking over. So I think that that one is one that I'm interested in potentially having a conversation about, but also learning about. And then clearly I have a very a close proximity to whiteness. So potentially that one as well, depending on how the conversation goes.
Got it, got it. Jess, since you're already here and there, what does that actually look like for you? And I would like to actually hear, what does it look like for you, or for someone to actually speak up for you, and then understanding what you just said, your proximity to whiteness, or to the patriarchal system. What does it look like for you to ensure that you're not speaking over people that you're trying to actually advocate for?
I will say, as a disclaimer, I've made many mistakes in this regard throughout the years, and I'm learning as I go. But I think for me, speaking up is when my voice isn't being heard, when my voice is unable to be heard because of either a power dynamic or something outside of my control, somebody else saying, vouching for me, saying like, no, she's cool, she's a good one, whatever, like having my back. And that is something that I've learned more recently as well, is that I think it's more important to back up what other people are saying versus trying to word it in my own way or think of my own way to convey the message. And I'm still working on that. It's a process, but I think the biggest thing about speaking up versus speaking over is how much you're amplifying another person's message versus amplifying your own.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Give me a second here. Jason, coming back to you. Jason, I don't want to make an assumption, but looking from where I'm sitting, looking at your PFP, are you a white man?
I am.
Okay.
Good observation.
All right. Listen, I have observation hockey. I'm actually darn good at it. Jason, understanding that you actually are someone that sits at the top of the patriarchal system, you are someone that has access to the most privilege. What does that look like for you to actually advocate for someone? How do you do that versus making sure that you are not speaking over them?
I think for me personally, in terms of with the prompt on race and queerness, I think my thing is to really let history speak for itself. I think that in particular, one of the things I've had a difficult time. I mean, I wouldn't say difficult, but I would say that like it's an uncomfortable conversation to have when I look at, for example, the Pride movement in the United States following Stonewall. If you look at the evolution of Pride, it has been exclusive. It's excluded BIPOC people within the movement, and you don't need me to tell you that. So when I talk to I more or less try to call out my white counterparts to say this movement has been exclusionary to the BIPOC community. Now, has there been some progress? I guess, yeah, you could say that, but it's still very much. But I also just I tried to remind them, you've got to look back and see how that has happened so that we can do better. That's my way of doing it. I let history speak for itself, and I point out facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my approach. It works, or it's effective in some ways, and others it's not. I get backlash all around. But again, I let the historical record speak for itself. I point out facts and see again if there, and I do so in a way to say, how can we do better in terms of the movement being again uplifting people, uplifting voices. That's all.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So I want to continue to actually flesh the conversation out, but I do want to go ahead and just take a whole step back and kind of level set, right? Because the reason why I wanted to go around the panel and one get that actual feedback from people without really giving much of my own opinion, I wanted to hear what people who didn't actually get an opportunity to join the conversation yesterday, what they thought the actual point of it is, and then also what they actually think when it comes to them. Before I go any further into my breakdown, I think I would be remiss if I didn't say to everyone out there, everyone in my community, happy happy Disability Pride Month. Happy Disability Pride Month to anyone that is a part of the community, which again, this is another level of intersectionality. And it is something that needs to be celebrated. So for those people within our community, we love you. With that being said, I think there is a level of understanding that's needed whenever you say that you want to advocate for someone, right? The term that has been thrown around a lot, and the term has become toxic, right, to say the least, is the word ally, right? People start talking about allies, and one people tend to call themselves allies, and being an ally, it becomes one very performative, right? You see people doing things like wearing blue bracelets, right? And they also do things like speaking over the people that they supposedly are advocating for. So I tend to fancy myself as someone who is an advocate for women, right? Especially Black women, especially Black transgender women, right? And the role that I try to use to make sure that I am speaking up for while not speaking over those women is whenever I get an opportunity to amplify their voice, I do so, right? Whether it's on my platform, their platform, in real life, I never miss an opportunity to support and uplift them in their voice. I think that's super important. That's a part of actually being an advocate for someone. But I think it's important to never actually put yourself in a position where you're one being centered, but also two taking away from them having the opportunity to share their voice. Quite simply put, the responsibility of anyone that's advocating for a marginalized group is to amplify the voice of the people that you are advocating for while listening to them, shielding them with your privilege, and allowing them to take center stage. All right. So with that being said, Frey, I want to come to you because Frey, you gave an amazing example yesterday about advocating for people and then also having that balance in that line. So Frey, I want to start back where we left off with that, and I would love to hear a little bit more about like one understanding how to strike that balance, especially within the queer community, and assuring that like, hey, I know that you want to be a champion for me, but I also need you to be mindful of my safety. But also, kind of like what the Weird Gecko guy was speaking to yesterday, understanding that if you or the person that you're advocating for says go, then you go. How do you strike that balance?
Um, well, I think it comes with like conversations that you're going to have with that person. So you would want to let the person who is a part of that community be your guide in a way. And um, I'm going to make an example again, right? So I was at the store today and a woman said something to me, and my son thought that the woman called me ma'am, right? And he immediately jumped and got offended and was like, oh my God. And I go, that's not what she said. She said something else, right? She had totally said a totally different word, did not call me ma'am, but he was ready to like, with all 65 pounds, like, you know, this little 10-year-old was about to, you know, go off on this older woman. And so I use him as an example a lot because he's very passionate, but also because he loves me for who I am, right? And I understand that sometimes our our friends and our family members who love us for who we are want the rest of the world to love us for who we are. But we understand that they're not going to. They're not always going to. And it's not really your battle, specifically speaking to you, Santana, to, you know, take that on as yourself. We enjoy the pride, we enjoy the love, but sometimes if you take it over the edge, that would put us in danger. For example, had she called me ma'am, I have a choice to say, excuse me, but I'm not a ma'am, I'm a sir, or I can stay quiet. And then at the same time, had my little 10-year-old, all 65 pounds, gone off, what does that do? That causes a scene, that makes other people angry, you know, and it doesn't do any good. So if what are you said you're 6'3", 280 pounds.
6'3", 280,
saying
yes.
6'3", 280-pound friend of mine walks into a grocery store with me and he believes I've been offended, you know, him taking a plummet for me or a punch or causing more harm isn't going to do me any good. It's just going to be more harmful. And so I think the balance is understanding what offense am I comfortable with, because I'm going to get it every day. I get misgendered every single day. I'm going to get harmed every single day. Do I enjoy getting harmed? Do I enjoy getting misgendered? No, I don't. But I live in Texas, and that's just what I have to deal with. It's just
Got
the
it.
world I live in. So,
Got it. Yeah, yeah, no, okay. Because listen, for you know, I'll be ready to get active. I don't play those games. Like it's something. The thing that I'd say all the time is like I'm not. I know that I'm here talking on TikTok all day, but I'm not about talking. Like I'm genuinely not. So yeah, I think that's important to have that conversation with those people within the marginalized communities and understand it because um I think the thing that we tend to forget, and I know it's privilege, right? I know it's privilege to overreact for people that you're advocating for, people that are a part of a marginalized community, and you overreact more than what is necessary for them because we don't think about putting them in danger when we're not around. And I think that's something that people have to really think about because again, I know myself. I know myself and you know, I've been who I am my entire life, not only a black man, but also, you know, since high school, I've been pretty much the same size. So I've never been like the smallest person in the room and so I've never been someone that's really scared or worried or whatever. So I think that when we do make sure that we're advocating for people, that we have to not only think about their safety, but think about like how do things unfold when you're no longer around. And so overreacting is not always
Yeah.
going to be the best situation.
I
Perfect,
I
perfect.
agree with that. If I could speak to that.
No, give me a second here though. Perfect. Thank you,
Uh-huh.
Frey. Nikki, I want to come to you because you haven't gotten the opportunity to speak yet. Nikki,
Yes.
um, what does that actually look like for you? And thinking about where we are, right? Understanding that people, you want people to actually be an advocate for you, but you want people to ensure that they're not putting you in danger, especially if it's something that could put you in danger for more than just a moment. What does that look like for you?
Well, I'm part of like 3 different communities, so
Mhm.
it can put me in danger in all 3 in just one. But to me, it's the same danger, because they're all, I mean, they're all equally dangerous. So an advocate to me is somebody that, because I'm in the handicap and disabled community. By the way, thank you very much, because not many people know that that's this month. I appreciate
Well,
that.
you know what? I have amazing people that I work with, and I,
Oh,
I can't sit here and say that it's me. Like if I wasn't, if this wasn't something that was brought to my attention and put in the Discord, I couldn't honestly say that. Oh, I would just know. But I am excited to learn more about it. So
but you did it, and you said it, and you put it out, so now 281 more people know.
yeah,
So there you go.
there we go.
Um, I think being part of a disabled community is different for me in one sense, because I have an invisible disability. So when I'm walking on a good day, people don't see it.
Mm,
And I've been approached for, why are you parking there? Why can't you walk? Or why can't you this? Or like, so not understanding a disability that somebody has, if you're going to advocate for them, you need to sit down. You need to understand why you're advocating for them, but like what it is. Like there's a friend of mine that is, she can walk a lot of the times, but on other days when she's like crashing, she can't.
mm,
And she doesn't want to use that energy on those good days to walk from the back of the parking lot to the front,
mm-hmm.
but people will attack her for that. Um, not all of them are visible disabilities, and you need to understand that if you're going to advocate for somebody like that, you're going to come up against, very hard brick walls.
Nikki, let me stop you for a second. Why do you think that people do that? Like, because I had to learn more about like what you're saying as far as invisible disabilities, right?
Mhm,
And understanding that certain people who have those, they have their good days and they have their not so good days.
mhm.
And depending on where they are, like things look and feel and present differently for them. But with that being said, why do you think people are so comfortable with, I don't want to say attacking, but
It
more
is.
so going after people without knowing fully what the situation is?
You want my honest answer, or do you want me to
Listen,
tell
you
you
got
the
to keep it
answer
funky.
that,
We're on late night, so you gotta
because I think
gotta keep
people
it
are
funky.
assholes. Sorry, Mama
Well,
Santana.
hold on now. Yeah, I mean, you could people are buttholes.
I said
I'm
sorry,
sorry. Go
Mama
ahead,
Santana.
Nikki.
I caught it right at the beginning. I think I like beforehand. I think before his first administration, I didn't see people attacking others like this
Mm,
for, not for a parking spot, or for using a cane, or for using the driving things in the supermarket. Like people just minded their own damn business, and it wasn't an issue.
mm,
Since this has come up, like people have gone after me for, and I've seen it go after other people for handicaps, for like saying that they can't, you like you somebody, I literally watched somebody yell at somebody in an elevator because they were reading the braille on the thing for the numbers. They're
mm,
like, why can't you just push one? Like, are you serious? Like, what? Like,
mm,
the tolerance is gone completely. But I think it's across all of the intersections. I think it's over race. I think it's over religion. I think it's over disability and sex and, sexual orientation. I don't think there is any tolerance whatsoever.
mm. Okay.
And I
Hold,
think people are idiots. Is that better?
hold, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second, Nikki. Um, Sissy, I want to come to you. Um, First and foremost, welcome back, Sissy.
Hello.
You know what, I'll give you the question, and then I have like an actual question for you. But being that you were here last night, and we continue to move down the path of intersectionality, what's something on the background that either you want to dig more into that you didn't really get to speak about last night, or learn more about because it piqued your interest?
Um, my my special topic is always going to be proximity too. I think proximity is so important. I will never
Hmm.
stop talking about it. Um, but I do like that we're talking about speaking up versus speaking over because we didn't really touch on that a lot yesterday.
Okay, okay. Um, Sissy, I know that you dabble in the political space as well. And Nikki just said something that just like it struck a chord with me.
Hmm.
And it does seem like that ever since I mean, let's be honest, um over these last what, 9, 10 years or whatever, yeah, about 9 years, 10 years,
Hmm.
um people within the marginalized communities have become like a bigger target,
Hmm.
and it's become acceptable to make them a target. And I guess the question that I have, because Nikki pointed out and said, you know, people are buttholes, and I do think that's true. But then I always have to take a step back and check my privilege, and I wonder, is it is it new, or is it that I'm just more aware of it now because like I'm focused on the other things that are happening. Like, is it that this wave that has come with the rise of Donald Trump and his politics has emboldened people, not only because I say like he made people who are racist more comfortable to be racist in public.
Hmm.
Is it the same with the rest of the marginalized community? Like, what do you think?
I definitely think that people have always been this way.
Mm.
Um, and like even with racism, I think that like it never went away. It just like, people
And, and you know, so
institutionalized it.
like
Um,
racism, I think that's an easy one though, because like I'm black, right? And so I
mhm.
see that one. And but I'm sitting here thinking, Sissy, like, have I just been oblivious to the plights of other people? And
I
like I
think
feel like it
yeah.
just hit me.
I think yeah. And that's not like a bad, well, I won't speak for like other people. I
Yeah.
don't perceive it to be a bad thing. Everyone wakes up when they wake up, but we have to keep in mind like when queer people got the right to be married legally. Like
Mm-hmm.
this was not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So people, have had their plights this entire time. Um People in disabled and handicapped communities still do not have what I would consider to be full rights for them,
Mm.
or full like visibility in spaces that I think that they should. So yeah, I think that people have always been having these struggles, and I think that the ability to make them invisible is by design.
Mm. Yeah, I always so one topic that I find very fascinating, because when people come up, they want to talk about politics. You have people that are Trump supporters and not Trump supporters and all this other stuff, but there's a certain subsector um, of uh, of people who are accelerationists, right? Who absolutely do not agree with the current state of the government, and they want to burn it all down and build something new. Have it rise from the ashes like a phoenix. And the point that I always say is, like, I don't disagree with your premise, but the problem that I have is there's people within the marginalized community that is going to be overly harmed
Hmm.
by this happening. And for me, I always think about like the people that I love within the disabled community, and also other marginalized communities as well. But like I always think to myself, there's a lot of people who are marginalized who's going to be hurt even more, even though this is something that I think could be beneficial at the end.
Yeah.
and so I'm always thinking and always hyper aware of them like now, but it feels like I'm glad that we're having this conversation and this topic about intersectionality, even more so because I think there's something to that where, like you just said, understanding that like this isn't new and this is something that there's a lot of people have been dealing with for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I would agree with you about the accelerationist as well. I am definitely a person that is like, I think that the systems we operate under are built in a way that they are not meant to be reformed. You do need to tear them down and start over, but in a way that is mindful of the people that you are remaking them for, right? If I'm remaking a system where I want to include people who I know have been disenfranchised, they cannot be expendable to me in that process.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Guys, let me read these off here. W's in the chat for Christopher. Christopher sent a $5 donation. Oh, this is Murph. Murph Authentic. I appreciate you, Murph. Sent a $5 donation. Thank you for all that you do. Listen, thank you so much for you being a part of our community, you being here. Also, W's in the chat for Carol Ann. Hey, Carol Ann. Carol Ann sent a $1 donation saying, love these important conversations. Y'all rock. Listen, you rock more. Thank you so much for that donation. Guys, that means that now we are only $244 away from closing out our nightly donation goal. Guys, we got 366 people here. We can definitely close out our nightly goal tonight. So if you would like to support the live, if you enjoy the information, education, entertainment, please consider donating. If 244 people send $1, we can close it out. Santana Speaks 24, best way to support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything is appreciated. If you're over on YouTube, what up, YouTube? What up, Twitch? If you're over on YouTube and you would like to support the live, you can do so with a YouTube super chat, and I will read that message out. One other thing that I was just told, hey guys, apparently you got 10 minutes, 10 minutes to get the likes to 100,000 likes. If we are not at 100,000 likes within 10 minutes, we're going to sub only. So tap the screen. Jason, I want to come to you. You had something that you wanted to add to the conversation earlier. I will definitely give you the floor, and so you can speak to that point. Or I also kind of want to like know what you think about, because it feels like I just got hit in the face with a sack of bricks, feeling like I've been oblivious, like not to, like I'm currently aware. I feel like I've been aware for a while, but then thinking about like the deep history of other marginalized groups and how they would deal with things, more so staying in my bubble as a black person. So I want to hear what you had to say about the other thing earlier, but I would love to hear your thoughts on like how the marginalized communities have fared over the years and where they are now in this current climate.
I think I'm always kind of I look back when you talked about like how you use your privilege. I think I work overnights. I'm on night shift in the correctional institution right now is where I work. So I was on the bus one night going downtown into my job, and I remember sitting there, and I'm in this inner city, so the bus I ride can get a little crazy at times, and I'll never forget I saw it was a black mother and her child were sitting and got into a conflict with another rider. I think they both were kind of in the wrong for kind of how they handled the conflict with them, but the white T person, when it got, he resorted to racism, just being blatantly
That's the
racist to her.
default setting for some of them.
And, I was, part of me wanted to punch the dude in the face, but I was just like, you know what, like right now, what is most important is that because no one else, and that's common, people usually don't intervene in group settings. So my thing was to just get that woman and her child out of there, out of a potential violent situation, to get her out. I mean, so, and that was what I did. I kind of removed her from, worked kind of use my position to be able to do that. Not everyone has that skill set. I'm a crisis worker, so that was my thing, was to be able to get her out of there, and to not be like, not do anything that could have had I confronted the guy, it could have made it worse for her. It could have. So my thing was to just get the guy out of there. So that was my thing was, and then after like I kind of did my thing as a crisis worker. Like, are you okay? Like, do you need any? How can can I offer you any support? I didn't want to be like make it look like, oh, that was so awful. If you get my following.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I used my opportunity to process with her as much as she was comfortable. Honestly, I don't think she really wanted to talk to me. Like after, like she didn't want to. Like, so I was like, and so that's my thing, is to know like when you're someone who wasn't experienced, like I am in that situation, probably could have made it worse. Someone could have got physically hurt. So that's my thing is that again, I just used my ability to be able to jump. So that's all. That's what I was talking about there.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Listen, I think the one thing that I'll always appreciate is um when you have a certain skill set, um, no matter what you do, because I know that I do things on and off this application, and whenever I have an opportunity to lend my skill set to other people, whether it be on or off the application, I always try to do so. And so if you can actually use your skill set to help marginalized communities, that's even better. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Lady P, I know you have your hand up. I want to come to you because I want to hear what you have to say, but also I really, really, really I want to hear your thoughts on what I said as well about the plight of other marginalized communities, because I feel like I've been oblivious to other marginalized communities throughout my life, just due to me being a black person and living my quote unquote black ass life every day and having to deal with that. Welcome in, Swan Raid. Lady P, floor is yours.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not nothing new. Especially like what was being said earlier. Like the bigotry is something new. It's constantly happening. It doesn't slow down. Never has slowed down. I don't know why people would think that it would slow down, but the reason why is because people tend to not care about things that they're not a part of. So if you're not a disabled community, you're not really going to care about what's going on with disabled people. It's just not because it's just not your business for real. Like in your mind at least, it's just not your business, so you don't really look into that. That's what happens with people. So when you are
How do we get more people to care then though?
you get them, you have to get yourself to care. There's not nobody trying to make you care. Like as far
Because we can do something though, right?
it's not. We have things to do. Like people have things to do. We have our own lives to take care of. It's not like anybody's job. Like if people want to take that, if we want to go that extra mile and do that, that's perfectly fine. I do. But people can, we can go the extra mile if we so please or so want to. But it don't really matter. Like people need to want it for themselves. Like I'm not gonna sit it. Like I'm not gonna tell other queer people that we have to be the ones to make them want to care. I don't give a damn if you care. The biggest are gonna big it regardless. People talk about how much they care every damn year.
But hold on. So, Lady P, not the bigots, right? So I get the point there because that's kind of how I feel like with Trump supporters. But what about the people like? Because I love what you just said. Because it's true. If it doesn't actually affect you, then you don't think about it, right? So, but I'm positive that there's a sector of people who don't think about it that could be reached if we somehow, did something. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking.
I mean, there are things that we can do. Like, I'm not saying that there aren't things that we can do. There definitely are things, but we're humans, and it's very, to me, insensitive to try to overload these humans who have a lot of things to deal with. That's experiencing racism and queerphobia at the same time while being a disabled person. And while also having other issues going on outside of their marginal identities, like to expect them to also get up and advocate for everybody else and want to get people that aren't a part of their communities to get on board. I don't give a damn about talking to somebody that's not a part of my group. So like if that's like, girl, no. If they don't want to do that, they don't got to. I'm not going to advocate all day long for people to do so.
Okay. Lady P, I want to lean on you for half a second as well, because I kind of want to. Or wait, I'm sorry. Nikki has her hand up. I'm sorry. Give me a second, Lady P. Nikki, floor is yours.
Hey, I just wanted to add the way that Lady Who was saying, you can't make somebody do something, they have to do it for themselves. Santana, you've been arguing with MAGA for how many months now?
Oh my God.
I mean, it's
I've
the same
I've
thing.
been
Like,
yelling
have
into the
have one
void.
of
You
them
mean?
stand up and advocate for me, a white lesbian disabled woman stuck in freaking Georgia. Like,
Hmm.
have one of them stand on the corner holding a queer flag instead of a red flag with that sign in the middle.
Mm.
Like, you can't make them do that.
Well,
Yeah.
and I guess like my whole thought process is, and I think it's more so like where I am when it comes to like speaking to people politically now, right?
Hmm.
And I've said this a million times. Like I no longer have an interest to specifically get MAGA, right? I'm not interested in actually bringing them to our side. Now, I am interested in having conversations with them, and if there's an opportunity to um shed light on certain things. And so I'm going to say this, and I'm going to tokenize one of my friends that's watching right now, and people may know who this person is, and this is why I keep calling this out specifically. So, and I know they're watching right now, but Trinity, right? Trinity is kind of famous on TikTok, but Trinity is someone who, she has her opinions and she has her views, but she's found a home here in our community now, and she seems open to like learning and growing, and she's an actual genuine person. And so I think that there's an opportunity to reach those people that actually are genuine versus actually going after those people who are just stuck where they are. And so I want to get those people, but I think that like,
But you notice that you said that she was open to it.
yeah, yeah, but
So it's on her. She had to be the one that was open to it. If she
yeah,
wasn't, it's like arguing with a brick wall.
yeah.
You can't make somebody see something that they're not going to
But
see.
but see, I'm talking more about like not even like a case with like Trinity, but like
Mhm.
people who are, I guess would you would call them like in neutral, right? The people who just are, they're not pro or against, they're just doing their own thing and grabbing those people, and that's why I was going like my big thing now is non-voters, like people who
Mhm.
didn't vote, targeting them. I'm not trying to target people that did vote. I'm trying to target people who didn't vote and actually bringing them in. So like, couldn't we do the same
Right,
thing?
right. Well, then you as a non-neutral gather your other former non-neutrals and your other former neutrals, and then
Hmm.
y'all go get the neutrals.
Hmm.
We're not gonna rely on the work of these people that had to battle the oppression every single day to get folks to understand what they got going on.
Hmm.
That's
Santana,
like
it's that spoon theory. Like I don't have the energy to, like Lady P saying, I don't have the energy to argue with somebody else and try to prove something to them. If they don't want to stand up for somebody, why am I gonna make them? It's not
Yeah,
they're not, their heart's not gonna be in it. Like, if Lady P asked me, hey, can you help me? Of course. Like, but it would have to come from me, not
yeah.
from them. You can't convince somebody to do something that they don't believe in or they don't want to do.
Mm. Real quick, guys, just to call out, I just saw this in the chat. 2 minutes left to get to 100,000 likes. Power tap. 2 minutes left to get to 100,000 likes. If we're not at 100,000 likes in 2 minutes, then we're going to sub only. So, tap the screen, grab a sub, or you won't be able to get in the conversation. I guess, I don't know. I guess for me, my mind is always thinking like, I know it's an issue with me that I'm always trying to be a doer, right? And I see a problem and I'm like, solve the problem, right? I'm always thinking, solve the problem. And I think to myself when I talk about like the queer community, or when I talk about people with disabilities, or when I talk about like women, and I always think that like maybe there's just some people who, if they if they could get the message, or if they heard the message, or if they were just more aware, then like they could be someone who could actually help those other communities as well. And I guess I just find myself always thinking like there's someone else that we could bring in to help. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Host, if there's any time at any point, I did have one a thing I kind of wanted to add to the other previous questions you presented to me
Sure, go ahead.
at some point. Yeah.
No,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
like
Go
when I
ahead. Go
was
ahead.
when I talked about kind of like history being a powerful tool. You know, when I get, I mean, I had worked with one of the Pride event coordinators here in Pittsburgh, PA,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, one of the concerns, you know, I mean, critiques of the Pride movement again in general is that it's not been inclusive, which it really hasn't. You don't need me to tell you that. And you know, I find it like a lot of times the YT people who are kind of saying like, well, why is this just being brought up now? They'll say like, why are people accusing or saying that we're not being accusing, we're not, we're doing the, why is it just being brought up now? And I say it's not just being brought up now. And one of the videos I show people is the video of Sylvia Rivera. She was one of the like pioneers of the Black trans woman in the one of who was there at Stonewall actually. Who some say, I don't know if there's any proof to say she was one of the first few people to throw the first bricks. I don't know. But
Yeah, who was telling us
she
about that last night?
stormed.
Was that Short? I think Short was bringing that up.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't. But
I'm sorry,
she
Sylvia
stormed.
Rivera was not black.
Say it again, lady.
Latina. I'm sorry,
Yeah, she was
black
not
and brown.
black.
She was Latina. Latina. I'm sorry. Yeah. So she was part of the non-white tea movement within the movement to like advocate for BIPOC, in Hispanic or Latina trans people who were often experienced the most police brutality during the Stonewall era. But she stormed the stage in 1973 at a Pride event, and she literally fought all day to get on stage, and used that opportunity to say, "You're excluding us." She
Yeah,
accused at the time it was the gay liberation movement was what we would eventually become Pride, but she said the gay liberation movement was a middle class white men's club
all
that
right,
was
sure. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let me hop in for a second because I don't. One,
sorry.
I mean, like, I definitely value what you're bringing to us right now, but I don't want it to get too bogged down on one person and stuck in one spot. But yeah, no, I hear you. Again, I definitely think there's a lot to the fact that there has been leaders within the queer community that we need to make sure that. I think yes, learning the history is super important. And I think that's a key piece to it as well. If we continue to elevate not only the current voices, but actually amplify the messages of the people that have been doing this for a long time. I think that's a big thing. Real quick, guys, W's in the chat for I'm gonna mess up your name if I try to say this. No, I'm not. Esmeralda. Boom. Got it. Fucking nailed it. Sorry. Excuse my language. Esmeralda sent a $2 donation to say, I call out injustice when I see them. While crossing the street, I heard a white person cursing at another driver at the red light. I heard him use the hard R, and I went off on him, calling him effing racist, and all my friends joined in. Yeah, like one, yes, calling out injustice when you see injustice is absolutely the right way to do it. And but two, I think that we started talking about the nuances of like how does that actually work. And while I appreciate the passion, like you got to be careful because you have to think about the person that you're speaking up for, because saying, hey, you're effing racist, and everybody ganging up on this person could put another marginalized person at risk. And it's something that I think is a super important part of the conversation. So I think that's something that we have to continue to talk about. But yeah, W's in the chat for Esmeralda, who sent that $2 donation. Guys, that means that we are now only $232 away from closing out our nightly donation goal. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links are in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24. Santana Speaks 24 is the best way to support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything is appreciated. If you're over on YouTube, you can make sure you're liking the stream over on YouTube. You guys are hanging out. I see you. I see you, chat. Make sure you're liking the stream. Go ahead and hit that like button and make sure you're following. And we will keep it moving. I want to actually push the conversation forward a little bit. Lady P, I know you have your hand up, but I want to push the conversation forward just a little bit before we go back towards anything else. So I do want to come to Falcon. No, actually, I'm sorry. Maxine.
I just made a comment in chat. I don't know if I was like you switching
What did you
up.
say?
Oh, I said in chat I've only spoken like once, and I thought.
Oh,
and
I
then he
didn't see
said-
that. I'm
And then
sorry.
he just said that, and I was like, oh no, did he see that?
No. But listen, I want to shift the conversation a little bit, right? Because yeah, we're definitely talking about the understanding as far as like speaking up versus speaking over and how that actually manifests itself in those different ways. But one thing that a lot of people tend to do is not only tokenize certain people, right? But they end up thinking like their proximity lends certain credence. And I'll give you a specific example. There are a few people in my sphere that's a part of the transgender community, right? People that I absolutely adore and love. And I know that's one reason why I care so much about the queer community, because I've gotten to know so many people within the queer community, and I've gotten to learn from them, not only their experiences but also like different things. But knowing that, I understand that my proximity to them would never equate to their lived experiences, the things that they deal with, the actual day-to-day of how they live. And I always have to keep that in mind, especially because I have a lot of friends that are, not Black. And I guess, Maxine, what does it mean to you? And what would you like to get across to people to understand that just because maybe you have Black friends, or maybe you have lived around Black people, or maybe you attended an HBCU or something like that, that does not necessarily give you the same one lived experience, but also it still does not make you quote unquote equals in that experience.
Well, I don't want to be like, oh, this happened to me, but my mom told me when I was in like kindergarten, this kid, we were like frenemies. This kid grew up hearing racist rhetoric 24/7, and one day on the playground, he said, "Oh, I can't be friends with a Black girl. My daddy says it's wrong, and he's gonna come to your house and pew pew your whole family." Now,
Wow.
obviously, I don't remember that because it was in kindergarten. No, it was actually in preschool. But, it didn't stop from there. Like, it just got worse. And I live in Kansas. I live in a very rich, I don't want to sound like racist, but it's very much a predominantly YT community. So, they're like, oh, I have Black friends. It's fine if I say stuff. And it's like, but you don't live.
Wait, so they use you as a token?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
You just kind of have to suck it up.
No. Really?
Yeah. They're very conservative, at least where I live. And so they will tokenize the LGBTQ community, the Black community, the disabled community, especially at my old high school. It was very much tokenized for a month. And then we were put in the back of the closet, just told, just stay there, don't make a fuss, don't say anything. don't be too loud, don't be too extra, just stay quiet until it is your time again.
And so, how
And
did you deal with that situation?
you know, mentally it was a lot because, you know, we're just told you're only allowed to speak about your problems, speak your truth for this month, and then you're supposed to shut up and deal with everything else.
Hmm.
And it sucked. It did. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But, you know, you just kind of,
M-
after a while, after especially like elementary school, it was very segregated in elementary school, middle school, high school. After about third or fourth grade, I was like, this is my life now. I can't
Maxine,
speak about my problems.
without, I mean, if you feel comfortable, sure, share, but like approximately how old are you?
I'm 19. I turned
You're
19 May
19.
21st.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we were pretty much told, shut up, don't speak about your problems. Racism is normal where I live to an
Hmm.
extent. Like, it's not terrible, but we're tokenized, put on shelves for a month, and then just told, yeah, you're no longer useful to us.
Hmm. Okay. Give me a second. Um, Swan. And I'm sorry for the other people on the panel. I promise you I'm going to come back around. I know Swan just got here, but I really want to hear what Swan thinks about that. I was saying I want to hear what you think about what Maxine was just saying. Or did you get to hear her story?
I kind of heard it. I think you're talking about your experience with
Yeah, so I mean, we were talking
Being
about the whole
tokenized.
thing around like proximity, and then she basically said that she has been used as a token, and even more so, like she's 19 and she lives in an affluent area, where they basically tell her like, "Hey, be quiet and just be here." And then you have like certain times of the month where they put them out on Front Street. I'm assuming she was referring to like Black History Month, and
Yeah,
that's the only time that yes, yeah, and so
yeah,
that's the
they
only
would
time that
decorate the halls during Black History Month, be like, these are prominent black figures. I'm like, cool, great. The moment the month is over, they're torn down and end up in the trash.
I, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, Swan.
Yeah, I think that's something that I can kind of relate to that, just like personally growing up. But I think that that is definitely something that you don't deserve. I think people really don't understand the impacts of just even like when we talk about like interpersonal interactions, right? And how that affects us in the ways in which we're socialized. And for somebody to, I think it may sound extreme to some, but that level of like dehumanization, that level of like just being performative or like disregarding the impact, even when you think you're doing something right for people, it may not necessarily be what's best. You know, it shouldn't be like that. It should not be like that. But on the flip side, I think that people tend to want to survive their surroundings, whether
Mm.
it's like socially, you know, depending on whatever space they're in, they want to be able to survive their surroundings. And I think that that's the issue with society. That's the problem. So that's why we have to talk about these things. But if that make does that make sense?
It does. It
Yeah.
does.
There's a
Hmm.
point I want to bring up.
Sure.
Um, Not that long ago, at my old high school, I think about 1 or 2 years ago, um, you know, it's on the news. So if you want to like look it up on your own time, go ahead. There was a fight that broke out, and this is how normalized it kind of is. But a YT kid called a black girl the N word 3 times, and the last 2 times were hard ER. Respectfully, he got his ass beat by her, thankfully, but it's normalized. And I'm like,
Mm.
And we have to code switch too, which I don't know if you guys know what that means, but it just means like switching.
Wait, are you talking to us or are you talking to the chat?
The chat. I feel like you guys
Okay.
would know. But
Okay.
we would be told, "Oh, you're too
Hold on, hold
ghetto."
on, hold on, hold on. Um, put a put a 3 in the chat if you don't know what code switching is, because actually, you know what, I do have a pretty eclectic chat, and so like there may actually be that's yeah, actually let's do that. Put a 3 in the chat if you don't know what code switching is.
I just recently found out what
Yeah.
code switching was, and I was like, I've been doing this my whole life.
Carol, I know you know what it is. Okay. All right. All right. All right. That listen. One, this is why I love my community. This is why I love my community, because my community isn't just one group of people. It's not just one group of people. It is a amalgamation of what the world is. Swan, did I use that word right? Amalgamation? I feel like I used that right. I did. Boom. Words. All right. So yeah, listen. Let's talk about it for half a second. Code switching. Code switching. So for my white friends, white people in the community, you would not know what code switching is, because it's not something that you naturally have to deal with. Code switching is, in the simplest forms, a way for Black people to be able to move throughout white spaces with being accepted. There's a lot of time when Black people they speak AAVE, and it is an accepted vernacular that is understood by Black people. But when non-Black people hear it, they associate it with the lack of intelligence, which is a form of
Or too
racism.
ghetto.
Yeah.
Or stuff like that.
Right. Right. And so a lot of times when that happens, a lot of times when that happens, a lot of people don't understand what's happening. Or the best example I can give, because there's a lot of time that people, I know everyone heard in this past election, there was like, oh, Kamala Harris, she kept changing her accent depending on where she was. She was changing her accent depending on who she was talking to. No, that was code switching. Black people have had to be adaptive, and they have to actually speak to different people in different ways to be able to get their message across, and so they're accepted into those separate spaces. So the way that I speak to you all on live is not the same way that I speak to my family, and it's also not the same way that I speak to let's see, people that I actually work with, right? So it's completely different. Now, one thing that I do want to call out, because I already see K on it, and I know this is going to be the next question. White people, listen, walk with me, hold my hand when I tell you this. You don't code switch. White people don't code switch. I know you may say, oh, well, I speak differently to my family than I speak to this other person. Yeah. But it's not, because if you were to do differently, then you would be viewed as less than. It's because you want to speak to someone differently in order to portray a different image to them. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but, and I just saw, I think Queen just said it in chat, like literally code switching is a form of survival for Black people. Like literally, it's a survival tactic for Black people.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
I have to code switch with my family. My entire family is a whole bunch of white people who adopted Asian people, Black people, and I'm forever grateful for my Black friends who have taught me more about the culture, I guess, because like I didn't know how to care for my hair. I was using like products for like girls who were white with blonde hair, and it messed up my hair. And I have to code switch when I'm around my family, or else they'll look at me and like judge me for being too ghetto or not white enough. I'm like, but I'm not white. Like, yeah, I'm mixed, but I'm not like
What
you.
racial, right?
I didn't grow up with, this kind of American dream to an extent. Like, I'm adopted, but like I kind of came from like a broken family. Like my mom's divorced, dad's out of the picture pretty much.
Hmm.
But I didn't have what my mom had when she grew up, which is a brother, a sister, a mom, a dad, family on both sides who loved her for her. I can't express how I feel about my sexuality or about how I feel like they judge me because, I'm not super conservative, super Christian. And it's out of
Yeah. So
survival because I don't want to be
yeah.
shunned by my own family. Like they're
Well,
my
and
family.
yeah, yeah, no, no. Listen, I want to make sure that I hop in and say one, that like I'm more than sorry to hear like the actual experience that you've had to live through. I mean, I know that's definitely I couldn't imagine what it's like having to kind of kind of actually
Mask who you are in front of your own
right,
family.
right, right. Figure out who you are on the fly, and then try to actually move to that space, especially if you're not in a space that lends itself to you. Now, the one thing that I specifically want to say though is to be because I don't want to confuse. There's almost 500 people here hanging out. I don't want to confuse the people that's listening. So having that lived experience and having to navigate through a multiracial family and a multiracial experience, that's not code switching, right? I just want to be super clear about that because I want people to fully understand what code switching is specifically, and then we can talk about the actual, the difference in lived experiences. I mean, that's what intersectionality is as well, right? But that's not code switching, and so just to be super clear, code switching again is a way that Black people they change the way they speak in order to be accepted in different spaces as a survival tactic, because if they do not, then they are looked at as less than due to racism. If if I go into if I walk into work and speak the way that I speak to my family at work, then I would not get the opportunities that I get at work. That I want to be super clear about that. Falcon, I'm wait. Sissy, I want to hear from you, and then Falcon come to you,
I
and then I
just want
know
to
Swan, you
address
had your hand
the
up too.
comments right quick. I just want to say, as an autistic person on the panel, please stop saying that code switching and masking are the same thing. I understand what you guys are talking about and how they're similar and how masking is rooted in ableism, but it is not the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's absolutely
I
not.
wanted to bring that up too.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
like
Yeah,
they're not the same.
it's not, and that's why, that's why it was super important that I called that out, right? Super important that I called that out because a lot of people can conflate a lot of different things, even mirroring, right? I mean, and that's why I wanted to speak to, the white people in our community, because there might be white people saying like, oh, I changed the way that I speak around other people as well. That's not code switching, that's mirroring. Sorry, but that's not code switching. And that's why I wanted to be super specific about what code switching is and how that works. Sissy,
Oh wait, someone in your chat said like
Maxine, hold
Adam
on,
and Eve
hold on
said
one second. Hold on one second. We're not talking to the chat. Just give me a second. Go on mute for me. Sissy, floor is yours.
So this is and this may be like an unpopular opinion. I think that code switching extends beyond Black people, but it does not touch white people. Um, in the same way that like Latino people are also seen in this way, like you see them as schmang members or you know, schmugschmealers, whatever it may have you. Um, they have to operate in similar ways that I have to operate whenever I'm going for job opportunities, whenever I'm interacting with law enforcement in order to avoid harm or in order to avoid discrimination. So I do extend code switching outside of the Black community, but that may be an unpopular take.
I think it is. But that is your take, Swan.
I'm only going to speak for Black people. I can't really speak for any other community, but definitely code switching is something I had to do. When I was growing up, I would literally be the only Black child in almost every space. I swam competitively for 10 years. I would play the saxophone since I was 9, was in a lot of different things, but I would be the only Black child. And I really had to observe my surroundings, and it was like very lonely trying to figure out how to navigate. But I did learn pretty quickly that I had to speak a certain way and to function a certain way. And a lot of times when I was growing up, people would be giving me these compliments like, "Oh wow, oh my god, like you speak so well," you know.
Speak so well.
Yeah, and I would just be like, "That's not, you know." And what do you say if you're a kid and you have a teacher who's, you know, they're coming to you and they're giving you this type of a compliment?
Thank you, Miss White Lady. I appreciate you.
Right. Like, what can I say? You know, I did also want to tie that into something you had brought up earlier when Lady P was on the panel, talking about wanting to get people to get on board with these discussions and understanding these harmful systems and trying to dismantle them. Right. I think right now we're kind of seeing an example of why that may be difficult. And just another, like, in addition to everything that was already said pertaining to that, is that you have some people in the chat that are kind of fighting against what we're saying and what you said, right?
Yeah.
Even though you gave a clear example and explanation, that was a good call, by the way, to make sure people understood what code switching was first, because that distinction is very important.
But you know what it was, though, Swan? Because I heard her say that, and I'm like, of course you know. Like, of course, is she talking to us? And then I realized I said, wait, hold on. There's a lot of people that watch. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. But if you have those people that are going to constantly push back, they're not ready for this. They're not ready for this. And I think that it may be radical of me to say this, but people have to understand, like, even like for me as a cishet person, if I'm, you know, around or in proximity to someone who's in the LGBTQIA community, I have to be aware of the fact that I may cause harm, regardless of how much education I'm going to take in. I may cause harm. If you have somebody that is half-stepping about this and they're not willing to take accountability without somebody from the community telling me that I need to take accountability for my actions, I have to do that on my own. If not, I think that we tend to see that people will fall back and say, you know what, forget it then. I didn't really want to do this in the first place. We've had people come into my space when we're talking about racism saying things like, well, if you guys keep whining about this and victimizing yourselves, nobody's going to want to help you. Well, hold on there. I don't want you anywhere near me, because how dehumanizing of you to say that. To say that because you're not comfortable when you're not the marginalized community, right? Because of your entitlement, that you think that we have to change the way that we talk about our oppression to fit a way that's going to make you feel better about yourself. Absolutely not. So I think for me, I just wanted to tie that all together. Like, if you're going to half step, you got to stay away from me. I need everybody to be all in and to be able to take accountability and reflect.
Let me say this real quick, Swan, and I feel like you know what, fuck it. Let me mansplain for you what Swan is saying. But no, Swan, like I think you get this for sure. Like, their comfort is not something that they should be afforded, right? If you sit here and say that you care about these marginalized community, like, for me saying that I care about the queer community, then I don't get the privilege of being comfortable. I don't get the privilege of saying, well, the way that you express yourself and the way that you actually share your story, or the way that you actually you know, have any type of reactions or feeling that makes me feel uncomfortable, or maybe you should do it more quietly. Maybe you should do it like less proudly, like less outwardly. Like, if you're going to be an advocate for someone, or if you're going to actually speak up, or, you know, help marginalized communities, then you don't get to be comfortable. You just have to accept whatever way they want to actually portray their message and portray themselves, and you still have to use your privilege to protect them.
Well, I kind of disagree with that, but I think
Okay, hit me.
So I think that people have to, because like somebody said this the other day on my panel. They were like, you know, I really want to advocate for marginalized communities, and I'm like, baby girl, advocate for yourself. You belong to the YT race. Advocate for yourself. You are socialized in a system to where you benefit from the dehumanization of other people. You can't sit here and tell me that at no point in your life did you ever feel a bit of like a sense of ease when you saw that another community was being targeted, because that solidified the fact that you still have your privilege, and people don't even understand how deep this goes, right? Here's my thing. You got to be ready to give up your privilege. I don't want anybody using their privilege for me. Give it up. Give it up. You should be willing to give up your privilege. That's what it's going to take. So people that say they want to advocate for marginalized communities, no. Advocate for yourself. You're the problem child or the problem group. You get what I'm saying? So people have to, like, these systems have really robbed whoever is in a privileged group of their ability to see the humanity in others, right? So much so that they don't even realize that acting and functioning that way robs them of their ability to see the humanity in themselves. Because you and I know, how could you say things that are harmful to people? How could you, participate in actively harming other groups of people? But some people don't even realize that they're doing it. So I feel like I'm rambling, but you get my
I get you. Stop woman-splaining stuff, Swan. Hey, Swan. I know I tagged you in that video that I posted today, but I also I put it on YouTube, and I made like this really cool YouTube thumbnail of us. So you should go check it out whenever you get time. Yeah. Okay, let me read these off real quick, and then I know there's some hands up, and there's new people on the panel, and all this other stuff. I want to get to all of it. W's in the chat for Neffy. Hey, Neffy, who sent a $2 donation saying, it's midnight for me. Do you ever go live earlier? So, yes and no. So this is late nights. For anybody that's watching right now and who doesn't really know or just came across or whatever, first and foremost, if you look up at the top and it says the word follow, that means you're not following me. This is the main account now. So make sure you hit the follow button. Go ahead and hit the follow button. This is the main account. This is what's called late nights, right? Late nights is a panel discussion. As you can see, we have a panel, we have backgrounds, we have topics, we work through the topics, we have actual conversations. That's why you see people sitting up here on mute waiting their turns. They don't actually yell, or I don't do the yelling, or yes, sometimes people talk across to each other, but we try to have a respectful conversation at all time. And so this is late nights specifically. And so I'm on the West Coast, and so it starts at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, and usually we do it for about 3 hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, there's another thing that I do called sparring with Santana, which are one-on-one debates, and sometimes you'll see some of the people join me for those debates. It's a different layout, different feel. It's high energy. It's different. Right now, late nights happens late nights. Sparring happens throughout the week at different times, but it happens on the weekend as well. And then I do what's called brunch with my creator, which is on Sundays. And which brunch with my creator, everyone always thinks it's a Jeebus thing. It is not a Jeebus thing. It is not religious. Brunch with my creator is one-on-one interviews with your favorite creators. And I have done some really great interviews with people like Jessica Simone, who's my co-host with the Culture and Chaos podcast. Shout out to Jessica Simone. Parker, Johnny P. I recently did one with Ashley. I had a Juneteenth brunch with my creator, which was so freaking awesome, where I had SoCal Smitty, Adorna, and Dantrell Boone, the artist, and we did a Juneteenth brunch with my creator. So like there's different shows that happens, which tends to get a little bit complicated because there's certain people who see me debate and then they come on this panel thinking it's a debate and they're a little bit confused and they're trying to like debate and we don't debate here. So it's a whole thing. So to answer your question, yes, you can see me at other times, but if you're looking to actually get this, you can only get this late nights. Sorry. All right. I know that was a long answer. Also, Debbie's in the chat for Spicy. Spicy sent a $2 donation saying, hi, love you and you're great. Thank you. Listen, you're great. I really appreciate you so much. Thank you for the $2 donations. And Debbie's in the chat for Uncle B. Uncle B sent a $10 donation saying, my audiobook just dropped $0 with Amazon Prime. Listen, Uncle B, say less. Say less. I am definitely gonna go ahead and download that. Uncle B, if you guys don't know Uncle B, Uncle B wrote a book. I think it's called, gosh, I unplugged my headset. I think it's called My Brother's Keeper. But it's about his experience as a police officer where he actually had to arrest his brother. It's a really great book on Amazon. I'm gonna verify the name. I got the book, but he just dropped his audiobook, so guys, check that out as well. So I'm sorry, I know that was a lot, guys. W's in the chat for everyone who just donated. That means now we only have $228 left in the nightly donation goal. We got 466 people hanging out here. We can definitely close out the nightly donation goal tonight, guys. All the pay links in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24. Best way to support the live. My brother's redemption. That's what it is. Thank you. My brother's redemption. Santana Speaks 24. Best way to support the live. Everything's accepted. Anything's appreciated. Okay, let's do this because we got new people on the panel. Let's introduce the new people and then keep the conversation moving. I also want to come to Falcon. I want to come to Frey. They haven't got an opportunity to speak in a while, but let's introduce Jessica. Jessica, how are you?
Doing good, Santana. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Jessica, as we have continued to go down the road of intersectionality, what topic on the background are you most excited to either speak about or learn about?
Would you mind reading off the background? I'm sorry, it's a little bit
Sure.
small. I can't quite see it.
Sure. We have race and queerness, closeted survival, speaking up versus speaking over, and proximity to.
I think closeted survival as well as speaking up versus speaking over. Excuse me.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Perfect. One moment. Kay. Hey, Kay.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Kay. As I have done all of this by myself, it only came from me. All of this is just me, straight out of my head. Just me. Okay.
You did a
as
good job. You did a really good job.
As we continue to go down the road of intersectionality and build this massive, can we call it an intersectional cake? What do you think about that, Kay? Intersectional cake.
Whatever you want.
I want to call it it's either an intersectional cake
like
or an
an
intersectional onion. I knew you was gonna fucking love you. Okay, which point are you more excited to talk about for the background, or I don't you can always learn. So either learn about or speak about.
Of course I can always
sorry,
learn.
Maxine.
That's crazy. I'd like to talk about proximity too, and closeted survival, mostly. But Maxine had her hand up, and I would like to cede my time.
Yep. If you don't get the cake versus the onion reference, then one, you're too young, and two, go look it up. Boom. Maxine, you had something that you wanted to add.
Yeah, to Swan's statement. I noticed it a lot during the BLM protests, but a lot of, I guess, the quote unquote popular girls at my school who happen to be white would be like, "Oh, BLM," but then they would go around and just absolutely flaunt their white privilege, and I'm like, oh, it's annoying. Like, you say one thing and then you do the complete opposite, and it's just like, you say you want to help us, but you're actively hurting us.
Yeah, so that's something that when you talk about speaking up versus speaking over, and that's why being called a quote unquote ally is so dangerous, because when you talk, Swan, you better stop reading my mind. When you start talking about people doing that, they become very performative, right? It becomes the flavor of the week, where people want to put their name on certain things because it looks good and it sounds good, and it's the hot topic, and they can actually use it as a whole thing. It was funny. I had a conversation with a man who was he said, well, while the BLM riots were happening, I was there for you guys, but now that Trump is doing all this with ICE, why aren't black people out here for us? Well, one, that's not how it worked. Is that it's not transactional, right? Like you don't have those type of transactional and exchanges with people, but even more so, like if that was just something for you to say, well, I did it, it's in my back pocket, it's something that I can use as a badge of honor, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. So yeah.
I also want to I don't know if you know her, but Kayla Malik, she she is a white content creator, but I will praise her for this. She lives in LA. During the LA riots, she didn't just voice her opinion. She was like, I'm going to drop links where you can, get help and, like donate. And like, that's super helpful, other than just saying, oh yeah, I'm against this. Like, you're providing links, you're providing safety nets for
Yeah.
people who
Yeah, no,
are
I think that anytime that you want to actually do the things, then you have to actually do the things. I have this conversation all the time, and it's something that I'm going back to. There is a performative left, and we have to understand, like, yeah, you got to stop. Swan, you got your hand up.
It never made sense to me, people using the term ally, because if we were just to like create an analogy, right? You have a victim of abuse and their abuser, right? There's no way possible that the abuser can help the victim of abuse heal, right? The issue, and that's the difference between the journey. You have a group of people who for hundreds of years have been benefiting off of the harm of other people, right? What this is why that we like this is why I never talk about like black trauma on my panel, because there are some people that truly enjoy that.
That's
Because of how we've been
fucking weird. It
socialized.
is.
Yes.
It's
I
like
told a story one time.
it's fucking weird. Excuse
It
me.
is.
Sorry, language.
No, you're good. I told the story one time, and then this YT man came up to the panel, was asking me a bunch of questions about it, and I was just like, yeah, never again. But anyways, so because of that dynamic, I don't think people realize, like, you have a group of people who have been experiencing harm since they were in their mother's womb. Because I'm gonna take it all the way back to the maternal mortality rate. Until we can see no more disparity with a black woman going into a hospital and giving birth to her baby and knowing that she and her child are going to make it out alive, these things will always be a problem for me. But regardless, the group that is benefiting from other people's oppression has to work on themselves, and they cannot help us heal from the things that we've been through. And I don't think that it's going to be possible for us to heal them. I think that everybody has to really understand what their journey is. But the term ally doesn't somehow assist me. They can't. It's never made any sense to me as to why people want to use the term allyship. And this is why I always say things like racism, that's a YT issue that affects everybody that is not YT. It's something that they have to work on. They don't deserve to be pedestalized and looked at in a manner as saving the day, right? They have to save themselves. And if I hear a YT person, they come around me and they talk about wanting to assist marginalized communities, I'm like, yep, no, red flag. Red flag. Because what are you doing to help yourself? Again, if you are the one that's benefiting from the privilege, right? If you're whether you want it to be that way or not, you have to understand this is non-consensual. But if you can't initially come out with that accountability, that level of accountability, then I don't think I can trust you. And the reason why I say that is because on my platform, you have people crashing out every single day, all
I'm
day long,
crashing in, Swan.
over being
I'm
called
crashing in.
racist. And when I talk about the maternal mortality rate, when I talk about what happened to Tamir Rice and how a police officer didn't see a child playing with a toy pew pew, right? He saw a threat, versus the situation with two young YT boys playing with an actual pew pew, actually firing that pew pew at the police, and the police officers still handled them with care, right?
You know the one I like to talk about because I'm from South Carolina. Dylan Roof going to Burger King after he unalived those black people at the church.
Yep.
That's the one that I love to bring up. The fact that you have a white man who literally went into a church in South Carolina and quote unquote broke bread, sat down, had Bible study with a group of black people, and then unalive those black people, and not only left that church alive while being, taken in to police custody, but the police, before taking him to jail, stopped at Burger King and got him a Whopper.
Yep.
If you switch the roles,
Yeah.
switch
Yeah.
them, the black person would have been unalived immediately.
Yeah. But that's like the thing for me. Like if they're viewing themselves in that way, then I know that I can't. They have more to do on their journey of deconstructing. If they're not coming to me saying, this is what I need to do, right? The term ally, it just doesn't make any sense. And I think, me personally, if we keep thinking like that, we're going to keep ourselves in this space where they're seen as the ones are getting praise for doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm not going to applaud any fish for swimming in water. You don't get that, right? You don't get that. Not until these systems are torn down. So I think I'm radical though. I'm very radical. If you're coming to me saying that you want to assist marginalized communities, nope, red flag. What are you doing to help yourself? And what are you doing to help those around you that benefit from everybody else's oppression? Because again, until a black woman can go into a hospital and know that she and her infant baby are going to make it out alive, this is how I got to be. And that's it.
Yep. I want to, I just lost what I thought.
Sorry,
wait,
can I
wait.
address something?
Give me a second. This is what I want to do, because there's other people who hadn't had an opportunity to speak, and not only opportunity to speak, but hadn't had an opportunity to speak in a while. You guys are crushing the likes. Thank you. Keep tapping the screen. Let's go ahead and get the likes up to 200,000 likes. Also, if we can knock out the Let 'em Cook, that would be awesome. And last but not least, guys, we do have $228 left in our nightly donation goal. It's the best way to support the live. So if you enjoyed the information, education, entertainment, please consider donating. Everything is accepted, anything's appreciated. Pay links is Santana Speaks 24. Or if you're over on YouTube and you want to actually send a YouTube super chat, you can do so, and that will help support the live as well and keep this going and allow us to do what we do. Frey, I want to come to you first because you haven't had an opportunity to speak in a while. I know what I wanted to go to, but I want to give you the floor to actually speak to anything that you may want to talk about at the moment.
Oh, I mean, you could go to wherever you wanted to.
I wanted to go to closeted survival, in which I know that we talked about it last night, but I know there's a couple of people who want to flush that point out, but I think that's super important to continue to make sure we have that like a deeper understanding of closeted survival and what it means for certain people where they're unable to actually, just be who they are because of fear of their actual, or either being harmed or losing their life.
Okay. So, like, do you want me to try to explain?
No. I mean, that's why I was saying
or just say my own experiences, or just talk about it in general.
And that's why I said wherever you wanted to go with and with any of the topics. But you've been waiting for so long. That's why I was just going to give you the floor, and then we were going to. That was going to be the next thing that we started to talk about it in as a whole. So, like, if you want to kick it off, you can, or if you had anything else you want to speak to, you can as well. Also, one other quick thing, and I just realized this since we're making sure that people know what like code switching is and all this other stuff. For anyone that's wondering what is YT, because I know a lot of people say why. Real quick, put a 3 in the chat if you don't know what YT is. If you've heard people on TikTok saying YT, and you're wondering like why do they keep saying that, because I know there's a little bit of misconception or people don't understand. So put a 3 in the chat if you don't know what YT is. Yeah, got it. There's a couple of people. Cool. White people. That's what it is. There is TikTok friendly language, and there's certain stuff that I subscribe to, and I will make sure that I use TikTok friendly language. But one thing that I will continue to say is white people. So yeah, that's that. So all right, Frey. It's your show. We can either you can kickstart the topic of closeted survival, or you can speak to anything else that because again you've been so patient, and so you can speak to anything. Why not say white? It's because TikTok, there's certain words where TikTok will be TikToky, so there's that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. YT, it drives me crazy because the phrase has been around for 15 years. It started on Twitter and jumped over to TikTok. So I don't understand why people pretend not to know what it is. But anyways,
I just say white people.
That's like,
but I'll be loud and wrong all the time, Frey.
I know, Santana. So real quick, I'm gonna just talk about closeted survival, and then if I have a chance, I would really love to ask Swan a question, but I'm going to start out with closeted survival. So, with regards to closeted survival, what that has meant to me for different reasons is not only am I a trans man, I'm bisexual, I'm disabled, and then I have different categories within disability. So I have physical disabilities, mental disabilities, intellectual, just all kinds of things. Like I told a friend today, I was like, wow, even though I'm disabled, I didn't know we even got a month. That's really cool. But other than that, I am all over the flag, right? And as a child, like I was always I was bullied a lot, and I was always like crying about it and stuff. And my mom would try to show me to hide my disability a lot, but then in other spaces, she would tokenize me as like, poor me, I'm the mother of a disabled child, and oh my gosh, it's so horrible, and we're always going to doctor's appointments and this and that. But then at the same time, I was supposed to, you know, why can't you act normal? Stop acting like an R word. Don't do this. Don't do that. You're embarrassing me. And then around her friends, she would be like, oh, my sweet child, such a wonderful child. And they're disabled, a whole thing like that. And closeted survival for me is often masking my disabilities, not allowing myself to just when I want to. I've started letting go a lot more, but when I want to just do the different things that I do when I feel like, and not letting anyone's judgments bother me about it. And with regards to being in the queer community, I feel like closeted survival is a must just because of where my environment is. I just feel like if I was able to be more open in a different state or a different country, then I probably would push back on people. I probably, if people misgendered me, I probably would push back on them. And I feel like that's just who I am as a person. And I mean, I do it all the time with my family. When my father posts, homophobic or bigoted comments on Facebook, I always pop in his chat and be like, what about your trans son? Right. I pop in every single time and force him to face it. Right. But closeted survival is it is what it says it is, right? You're keeping your guard up constantly. You're making sure you don't make other people uncomfortable. And that's what it is. You're protecting other people's comfortability over your being visible, like over you being seen, it over you just being who you are. And I think a lot of people deal with closeted survival, whether no matter what marginalized community you belong to. I feel like um, that's a part of what you have to do in order to go through life, because people, they don't they might ask you questions and be genuine, but most of the time it's a curiosity that isn't needed. I've literally had people ask about like my personal SMEX life that has nothing to do with the daily conversation, or like how do you use the bathroom and things like that, right? That's just like something you would never ask any other person, but you'll
Yeah.
come up to me asking a trans person. I'm a trans man, and you know just asking these random things that you wouldn't do. They do the same thing with disabilities. Oh,
Yeah.
well, if you're in pain, take a Tylenol. Okay, thank you, Susan. I will go take a Tylenol, even though I've dealt with chronic pain my whole entire life. Like, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for handing me that Tylenol. That's great.
Yeah. No, I think that there's a constant a constant sense of dehumanization, right, of certain people when they're not a part of. Look, Sarah said the same thing I was getting ready to say. When certain people aren't a part of like certain marginalized communities or areas or spaces or whatever, and they look at certain people and they don't see the human aspect, and so they feel comfortable with saying stuff like, hey, how do you use the bathroom, like stuff that, like you just said, you literally you would not say to anyone else while having that conversation. And I think that's a huge thing. um I'm gonna do this real quick because I want to keep the conversation rolling. I know a lot of people want to jump into this, and I want to stay right here. W's in the chat for Harold. Harold sent a $10 donation saying it's been a while just to support you, my brother. Enjoying the topic. Listen, Harold, thank you so much for the $10 donation. Thank you for popping in. I know. Listen. We be doing something over here. We be cooking up a couple of different really good conversations. It's been really good these last couple of weeks. W's in the chat for Harold. Guys, we still have $218 left in the nightly donation goal. Santana Speaks 24 is the best way to support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything's appreciated. Kay, I want to come specifically to you because I know that you called out that closeted closeted survival is something that you were excited to speak about. And Frey just gave a really good breakdown and a really good lived experience. I would love to have you take the floor and actually add to that.
Sure. I mean, I think Frey's example was spot on. He pretty much said everything that, needs to be said. I think in other, like groups that it's even more of a survival. And I know that when Lady P was up, that there was a question on like what that meant. And, just from, like having, patients who have, talked about having to be closeted on top of already being a marginalized community. So there's always like that other layer to the cake or the onion, as you will, for safety. But I think Frey also had a question for Swan.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I've been thinking about this like all night, like all day. So like, and forgive me if I am not saying something that like, so like if I say something and you're like, no, that's not what I said, just completely uh disregard because you said something that was so uh like got me thinking, right? And then I totally am taking it somewhere else. So you said something yesterday and we were talking about marginalized communities and then I don't remember who said it, but we were talking about just like white women being a part of a marginalized community because they're just women, right? But then you said no, white women are not a part of the marginalized community because they put their whiteness before their womanhood, right? Am I correct on that before I continue?
That's okay. Yeah. So what I said was that they are in a. They're not. I wouldn't say marginalized. I would say in a power struggle with white men. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Okay. And then correct me if I'm wrong. And then you said so that means that they wouldn't be oppressed per se.
I think it's in a way that's. This is the thing, right? Because it's so deep. Because of the
I'm
way.
going somewhere, I promise.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah. No, because
and also let's not rule out the fact that when Swan said this yesterday, she thought this was a hot take. I thought it was kind of lukewarm, but whatever.
Listen. Well, the reason why I say that though is because, well, first of all, if y'all want to understand, read "They Were Her Property," and you will understand that YT women played a major role during chattel slavery. Even down to trigger warning, if there were not, and it's all non-consensual relations with like a black man, right? If the child came out and they were black, that YT woman would unalive the child. That's why they struggle so hard today raising their black biracial children. But that's beside the point. So what I said was, I think that they're in a power struggle with YT men, right? And for me, it's very difficult to see them marginalized in the sense of like women of like other racial categories are marginalized because they benefit from having a proximity to patriarchy. And we've seen, like historically, we've seen over and over and over that that's what's chosen over seeing the humanity in other people, if that makes sense. And then there's also the aspect of YT women being able to, because they're seen as like the epitome of like feminism, right? Or femininity. So they're able to really weaponize that against other groups. And it's a very dangerous,
Did you say white woman tears?
Well, yeah. They can weaponize it, like for example, prime example would be Emmett Till. What happened to Emmett Till, right? This woman lied about a child, trigger warning. This child was unalived, right? And it was, I mean, if you don't know about this story, you need to go and look it up. Google it. Emmett Till, what happened?
Wait, so Swan, did he do something like, hit her or, something super egregious? What was the lie that she told? Did she say that this child, hit her with a baseball bat or something? What did she say that this child did that caused him to be unalive?
She said he made a pass at her. And then she went back to her community, told them, and then they came back and they unalived him. He's a child, y'all. But that having that much power, if again, read "They Were Her Property," y'all will see that the ways in which white women have weaponized their femininity and used that as an advantage to be seen as a victim whilst being the victimizer, for me, I can't rock with it. It's way too dangerous. We even had a discussion about this on another panel where they were talking about like grape culture and things like that, right? And there's the aspect of white teen women accusing Black men of rape and it not being true. And it happens so frequently. But because we know that overall, when you look at statistics, right, I think it's only like 2% of women have ever made like false accusations. But it makes it that statistic when they look at everything and they don't break it down by race, people don't know that a lot of times when a white woman is accusing a Black man of doing something, it's believed and it could potentially get that Black man unalived, and a lot of times it's not true. And that's a very difficult I think thing to navigate. So for me, because I know that they can weaponize that victimhood whilst being the victimizer, that's something that's on a different level. They cannot relate with other groups of women who belong to like of other racial categories, because it's too dangerous, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just want to highlight something that Swain said, because I've actually not experienced it personally, but my oldest biological brother spent 20 years in prison for a relationship that he had in college with a white woman. And when her parents found out about their relationship, she said that it was SA. Or Swan, sorry. But she said that it was SA, and I didn't grow up with a great relationship with him because he spent most of my childhood in prison. My oldest biological brother, not only did he spend 20 years in prison, but even after she recanted her statement and said that it wasn't true years later, he still was not actually exonerated for the conviction, and he ended up having to spend the rest of that time in jail. So even when the truth comes out, they don't even always get their freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, like, my brother missed the entirety of my childhood and the childhood of a lot of our younger siblings and cousins, and never got to know us. My brother right up that's came right before me never got to meet him and passed away before he got out of jail. So like, that's something that affects like real families, and I know so many other Black families that have stories like this.
Yeah, I think that and that's why we continue to have these conversations, right? Because when you start to look at the breakdown of like how this actually works, and it's that's why we've been talking so much about systematic racism as well, right? We definitely understand that the uh the the conviction rate, the way that Black people and other marginalized groups are the way that they receive time, but not also like the exoneration rate for Black people. It's like it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, and it's a lot that has to be spoken to. Kay, I think I just saw your hand up, and also I sent you a message, but I'll just say it since you're already here and you're getting ready to talk. Kay, can you hold the panel for just a few minutes? All right, I'll be back. Guys, keep tapping the screen. 200,000 likes before I get back. Let's go.
So, Swan, could I ask you a quick question? Do you post your lives on like YouTube?
Oh yeah. That someone did ask about it. Do you have a YouTube? Because I legitimately I got. Hold on, let me come back real quick so people know it's not the voice of God. I'm still here.
Oh, we know it's not that.
It's the voice of God. Do you have a YouTube? Because like a lot of people watch these back, and I've gotten that question like a few different times in the comments of my YouTube. Saying like, "Hey, where's your YouTube?"
I don't have one, but I think I need to create one.
You need to set up YouTubes. Like
Yes.
you've been getting requested to like have me point you in the direction of the YouTubes, and I was gonna try to tag you in the video that I posted, but I didn't see one, so I didn't know. So there's that. Okay, all right, I'll be back.
So the reason I asked was because the other day I was in there and you had a gentleman on the panel talking about white people who had came out for protests in May of 2020, and then you gave him a line of questioning, and you asked, like, and what did they do after that? And like the point was like they went home, we went home, that was it. But that whole exchange, I'm not like a screen recorder or anything, but I just thought it was a very interesting exchange, and like I would love to point people to that because I think it was like to see the realization of like where our white privilege comes in at, like, was really great. So that's why I wanted to know if you had the YouTube.
Up though, I think it would definitely be beneficial, especially if they do take TikTok away. I don't know if that's actually gonna happen, but I do think it would be beneficial to expand my audience outside of TikTok. That feels so weird to say my audience, but yeah, no, I think that's definitely something I'm gonna be working on for sure.
That'd be awesome. Because I think the conversations, especially in your space, are very, like this is so conversational on late nights, and but the real direct like points and things like that are made on your, lives are super important, and I know like as soon as Santana's finished, like his just auto like populates, so it's something that like we could make sure that we could help you out with or whatever. But the other thing I wanted to kind of call out was that I've saw since the time we were talking about code switching, I've seen a lot of like folks that look like me have like stopped commenting, and like the numbers haven't gone down, so like we're all still in here. But I've noticed that the comments have like slowed down because like people got uncomfortable because there was a discussion on the difference between code switching and mirroring, and I find that like to be kind of like, if you didn't know about it and you were corrected and it was uncomfortable, like it happened even earlier with a panelist, these conversations are never going to be comfortable when you're learning new things. So I just think that it like don't not comment anymore because you might have been corrected. It's okay to be uncomfortable about it. And then my I think my big problem is I'm part of the queer community, and I have a lot of privilege from the fact that I'm in a heteronormative relationship. It says heteronormative relationship, and so I have a lot of I'm pansexual, but because I'm just viewed in the world that way. So one of my pet peeves is the proximity to when I hear people in the queer community who have adopted specifically, and I'm not talking about speech that is queer centered, but when queer people adopt AAVE, I find it super harmful. AAVE is its own language.
Yes.
And it really, I think it's something that we don't call out enough. Like people feel very, like inclined to use certain phrases and things like that. And I think that we need to recognize and not appropriate languages that weren't built by us and that we don't understand.
They not like us.
I
Can
I
sorry.
think it's two hands, but I had to scroll back. I'm sorry.
Can I finish the end of my question and then we can like move to the next person?
Yeah, you didn't get to finish the thought process.
Yeah. Okay, so Swan. So what made me like I loved your comment and everything, and I as well agree. My brain went straight to, so if then, if if that is, if then since trans women are women and trans men are men, then white trans women and white trans men are not necessarily in an oppressed group. That's where my brain directly went to.
I heard
So
like I got there before you finished it. Ooh.
I think that it's important to understand things on the basis of what community you belong to. So when it comes to race, that privilege is always going to be there. And of course, we understand that, you know, if you're a YT person and you're LGBTQIA or transgendered or have a disability, then you do belong to marginalized communities and you are oppressed on the basis of those systems. But also understand that there is you are privileged in every category, if that makes sense. You're privileged in every category, which is why we see such a distinct difference between the life expectancy of a Black trans woman being, I believe it's early to mid 30s, and that's something that kind of has to be examined and worked through as well. Is that even if you are belonging to or oppressed right by another system, that you're always going to have privilege even within that marginalized group, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. I just like my brain, like it was too late to bring this up last night because by the time you said it was already like getting towards t-shirt time. And I was like, so I thought about it all night. And then I thought about it today and I was like, I hope I get to talk to Swan. Oh my God, I hope I get to say this because like I didn't know if that's where you exactly were going, but I wanted to go there just because, like, it is important to say, like, I'm still white, right? And I am a trans man, I am bisexual, I am disabled, right? I check all these other different boxes, but I am at the beginning, middle, and end of the day still white. So I am still going to hold privilege over anything else. Um, and so I've always said, like, instead of using the word oppressed necessarily, not that if there is a a specific law against trans people, what there are in Texas, right? And there are in other states, that they won't affect me, but that I would rather call it more a discriminatory against me, just because it is gonna affect um Black trans women and Black trans men more than me, if that makes sense. And I didn't know if that's what you were talking about or not, but I wanted to kind of take it there because I really like when you said that yesterday, I was like, whoa, like it like made my mind think real hard. Sorry.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm glad you asked that question because it probably clarifies things for people, because people are probably like, oh, she's just over here saying like, for, you know, not to, it's, I think it's just the reality of what we see in society. There's been, I think from what I've observed is, the experiences of people who are Black and LGBTQIA, there is a very difficult time trying to navigate through life because of what you will face within your own community, but then like just being in the LGBTQIA community, right outside of being around Black people, you know, there's so many stories and so many experiences of people saying that they just deal with so much racism. So I think like we have to examine all of those things and the impacts of all of those things truthfully, no matter how uncomfortable it gets, and
Mhm.
understand that, you know, that is a thing.
And that's the reason why we're doing this topic, right? Because I feel like a lot of people get lost in the nuances, right? And I want to come to Jessica. Sissy hasn't spoken in a while. And I want to come back to Frey. I'm not Frey. Kay. Dang it. But the reason why the first topic says race and queerness, right? Specifically, is to kick off the thought process behind like the different, not only within the queer community, the different um, people, but the different races, and again, how those experiences are different, right? So yes, even though a white man and a Black trans woman are both a part of the queer community, their experiences are so different. Or you can even go kind of, a little bit similar where you talk about a um a let's say a Black uh lesbian woman versus a white lesbian woman, right? And so once you start to I don't want to say mix, that was about to be bad, but add in the different levels of intersectionality depending on the other things, like it's there's so many layers of nuances, and then you can expand it to, not just the queer community, but you can take a look at other marginalized communities as well. And it's so much, and that's why we want to have these conversations, because we don't want to miss the opportunity to say, like, everyone's lived experience is not the same lived experience, and it's a lot. All right, I'm kind of rambling now.
Can I add a thought to the whole, like, as like a black woman in the LGBT?
Sure, really quick, but then I want to make sure I get to Jessica, because the boxes are officially closed and we got about 20 minutes until t-shirt time. So but go.
So at my old high school, we were, as like someone who's kind of open about being bi and dating a woman, I got a lot of hate from my own race for causing too many waves, in their own words, because I was openly dating a woman as a black woman who was dating a white woman, and they had no problem with the white woman. I'm not going to say her name, but they had a problem with me because I was causing too many waves, too big of problems. I was being too loud. I was being too open. They're like, why can't you just be yourself but be quiet? You don't need to hold her hand in public. You don't need to kiss her at school. And you don't need to do any of that. Like, I'm dating her.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about being in certain communities, and I'm not saying like communities like this, but being in the area that you're in. I think I have another level of privilege. I know I've never shared this story on live, but I'll share it now. The area that I'm from, when I graduated high school, I think there was like, it was 70% white and like 20 25% black, and then like 5% or 10% other. But the point that I'm trying to make is, overwhelmingly the majority of people that I went to with high school, it was white, and it was a large high school. I mean, we're 4A high school. Hundreds of people graduated with me, so much so that we had to have our graduation at one of the local colleges in order to be able to fit everyone in. And so then I jumped from that situation to, I went to an HBCU. Right, I got accepted into multiple colleges, but the HBCU, not only did I get accepted to that, but they actually paid for my college tuition. So it was a huge shift as far as like me being in an environment where it was mostly white people to an environment where it's mostly black people. So there's a lot to it where you try to express who you are and actually live, quote unquote, your truth. But a lot of times those people within those environments try to stifle you because they don't understand the differences, and they often push back on those things. And one thing that I'll say is, never let anyone dim your light. Always be safe, but be unapologetically you. So, Jessica, we have not had the opportunity to hear from you. Floor is yours.
Hey, so the main reason I popped up here on the panel was that I was just, so I'm not too familiar with code switching. I'm sorry to bring it back that direction, but is there any chance that somebody could explain the difference between code switching and masking for me? 'Cause I'm autistic myself, and honestly, on your panel, it was the first. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, sure. I actually have the perfect person to actually explain that. Okay, would you?
Sure. So even in the autistic community or in the neurodivergent community, masking is a way to fit into social norms, and code switching is literally about material, like uh, the material standards in which somebody can exist. So for white people, we do not code switch. We mirror, like if we are in a corporate setting and maybe we have a different type of speech that's more laxed, or I don't know, maybe we curse a lot or whatever. When we're in a corporate environment, we may, change like words that we use. When, the Black community is using AAVE, it's a completely different language, and they have to then assimilate in most places so that they can be employed, and so that they, I hate the word palatable, but that's what is used so much in like, you know, like literature and stuff that you talk when you talk about this. So masking is to fit social norms, and mirroring is to, project, you know, your surroundings. You're mirroring people, and then code switching is not for us.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Literally, your panel was the first one that I had ever heard code switching in. So I was just curious on like what the difference was, me having to mask my life for me being autistic as well as like with depression and stuff like that, kind of masking how bad it was before I actually was able to get on disability and stuff. So I really appreciate you explaining that for me.
Yeah. You know what? And I genuinely mean this. Because TikTok is super tribal, right? There's a lot of people that go into certain spaces and they stay in certain spaces and they only actually visit those spaces, right? And I actually have like the experience I just shared with my high school, and then going from high school to college, and then even more so when I talk about like, or if you guys actually knew like my friends, um, it's just a wide range of people, but that's because like that's who I am. And a lot of people on TikTok don't go out of their spaces, and I tend to travel through different spaces, and that's why there's people watching here that found me on maybe Parker's live. There's here people here who found me on Swan's live. There's people here that may have found me on wherever or whatever, but like let's keep it funky. The difference between Parker's live and Swan's live is the size of the Grand Canyon, right? Like, I mean, let's keep it funky. Those are two completely different lives, and it's lives where W's in the chat for Swan. Lives where those two people, like the people that stay in their lives, like someone just said, GT, exactly. The people that stay in those lives don't go to those other lives. And when I bounce around and people start following me, you get a situation like this where there's people who mostly watch Parker, but they see me live and they come into my space. They mostly watch Swan, but they see me live and they come into my space. Mostly watch GT and they come in my space. And then we get the opportunity to not only have these type of conversations, which is super important, but like break down the like a lot of stuff that people don't know about. Like again, I was shocked with I took for granted at the moment when Maxine said code switching. I was like, of course you know what code switching is. And then I had to remember like our community, and then to see how many people didn't know what it was, and then just having an opportunity to sit here and talk about it, like that's massive. Where you don't really get that in a lot of places across TikTok. So
I actually met you from Dean's Live.
yeah.
And I liked what you were saying, and I was like, this Santana guy is kind of cool.
Sometimes I'll be popping my, I'll try.
You were owning him, and I don't remember which guest, but oh my goodness.
You might have found me on Dan's live too. What up, Dan? I see you. I love you, Dan.
Your
Sorry.
chat
Also
and
found
your,
you on Dan's live.
Yeah,
your
that's my
chat
brother.
and your guests. Oh my goodness, it's so calming compared to Dean, whether it's just like you either get a child or you get someone just saying a bunch of slurs, or like you get like these mind numbing like, oh, and it's just like, ooh.
Yeah, well, and like I appreciate our community so much, and even more so like being able to hold these conversations, and because these conversations are super important. But then I think there's also a level of respect, even when people, for the most part, come in who are in quote unquote opposition. They still hold at the very most a level of respect, and I think that's super important. So I'm really glad that we have the ability to actually talk about these things. So
A lot of
um
my new live streamers I've met through Dean and Parker actually,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
I'm expanding my stuff, which I really like. So that's why I wanted to add that on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sissy, you haven't said anything in a while. Kay, I want to come back to you. Falcon, I have to hear from you. So, Sissy, you first. Sissy, are you there? Ooh, guys, I think Sissy might have fell asleep. Oh, Sissy fell asleep. Oh, you guys know what that means.
I was a
Oh,
bitch.
hold on. Hold on. Ooh, sorry, I didn't. Hold on, Sissy. Not me messing up the soundboard. Ooh, okay. K, K.
That was like a fatal error there, sir.
I know. I hit the. So I was like, fuck. I'm not even gonna. Fuck it, cancel me. I don't care. Go ahead, K.
So I actually wanted to kind of talk about Swan's Point from last night because I know that it happened towards the end of the night, with the quote unquote hot take, but I wanted to talk about it because I saw a lot of people have feelings about it in the comments as we were kind of like closing down the live.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that, like, I feel, use I statements here. I feel that white women are more dangerous when it comes than it comes to white men. And I feel like we as white women have a lot of work to do. I'm not saying that white men get a pass or anything like that, but I'm saying that after reading Swan, that has already recommended, after reading They Were Her Property, um, it's such a difficult read. And it is extremely eye opening. And so I feel like there's like this huge disconnect from, like, in general, when we have these kind of conversations where, I mean, there is a woman on this app who makes content that specifically white women got demonetized because they were in their feels. Um, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's a black woman on this app that got demonetized because white women were in their feelings. And I'm sorry, the book is They Were Her Property. And so I don't think that Swan's take is, a hot one, only
It
because
wasn't.
I feel like it's important to say things as poignant as that, because it has to make us focus and look in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really think, like, I I'm at a point where I'm comfortable enough to say, like, I do feel that we are the most harmful, and I think that that is a direct representation of things that are happening, because then we can also quickly shield behind our race and behind, a man, like, in, like, just like a white man, so I really think that that's something that we could look deeper into. And I
Mm-hmm.
know we have like some stuff in the next, couple weeks that we're still like going to be rounding out. But I do think it's really important to kind of, if that makes you uncomfortable, I think that there's a few things that you can do by reading and things like that. So, but I do, I hate when you do that.
Hey, K.
Yeah.
Can Can I host a late nights, like a white woman late nights, where I talk about white women?
Yes, you are able to.
It's like I just watched a kid ask their parent to get like a little lollipop or something.
Yeah, no, okay, I agree. Like, I think there is, I think there's a lot of like, as for lack of a better word, meat on the bone around a lot of different topics that's coming out of the stuff that we're talking about. Like, I don't tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I feel like we're like we've started to add stuff to the list that we already had.
I mean, I think we had all these things, and I think like it's naturally like we talked about like that snake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like starting one place and like, but it has organically moved to all of the topics that you've wanted to hit,
Mm-hmm.
and like knowing what's coming up is like just like I feel like it's just it's how deconstruction actually works and how intersectionality actually works. So it's just kind of following that flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I still want to do the religious one though. We're gonna talk about Jeebus. Swan, you had your hand up.
Wanted to kind of, because I'm sure there's probably white women in the comments that are uncomfortable with what I said, but and I'm gonna continue to stand 10 toes down for my community. And I wanna make everybody aware of the fact that there was recently a YT woman who called a black child the N-word and received thousands of dollars for it.
No. Be specific. Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Not thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for calling a black child the N word with a hard R. Sorry, go ahead, Swan.
No, you're fine. And people like had such a just like a level of disregard for that black child's humanity. And for me, like that to see something like that play out, she got rewarded for her behavior, right? And people didn't have a problem with that. Let it have been the other way around. You know what I'm saying? Like let it have been the other way around. But I think that y'all need to and I'm gonna say this, like y'all need a reality check. Y'all literally need a reality check. A child was degraded and dehumanized by a YT woman, and I think it was like somewhere around like $700,000.
Yeah, it definitely got over 600,000 for sure.
He got paid to dehumanize a black child.
Mm-hmm.
So when I tell y'all, y'all do have work to do. Y'all got work to do.
I haven't heard that story. Can I get more context on it? I've never like.
Yeah, if you so there was a situation where there was a white woman at a playground, and the kids were playing, and the black kid took a toy from her child and she got upset or whatever and went and tried to get the toy back, and there was a guy recording it, the whole thing, and then she called the child, which I think couldn't be more than 5, called him the N word with the hard R, and it went viral. And people, of course, racists, were online supporting her, and she had like this. It wasn't a GoFundMe, it's some other kind of account or whatever, and so like she was able to continue to collect the money, and she raised at least over $600,000. People just donating money to her because she said, "Oh, my life. Oh, I was racist online, and now the world is so tough." And so yeah, go look it up whenever you get time.
Actions meet consequences. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I hate it when they're like, "Oh, my actions have consequences."
Yep.
Hoo.
That's like the main thing that I'm talking about. Like when like white women can then go hide and like need their right to comfort. So like her whole thing was like, oh, I'm unsafe now. I need all this money. Like I need to be comfortable. I need protection because I did this horrible thing. And so also I've invited Brittany now twice to come join, even though we are so close to t-shirt time.
Where's Brittany? I saw you and where's Brittany? Hold on.
Yeah.
I want to see what
So
Brittany
she
said.
can come up or she can go, but she feels that the explanation on code switching was the worst. So
Really?
I'd love for her to come up and just tell us all about it.
Brittany, get in the box. Brittany, hold on. I need you to stay on mute for me. Brittany, get in the box. Get in the box, Brittany. Come up. come up. I legitimately would love to hear why my explanation on code switching is the worst. And Brittany, I would love for you to tell me about code switching. Brittany, are you still here? Brittany, where you at though? Let me see. Is Brittany still here? Oh, yeah. You're definitely a Brittany. Brittany, get in the box. You're definitely a Brittany. Hmm. 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 Hmm.
I'll give it to you. Come on.
I think she's gone.
Box.
Hello?
Oh, Brittany.
Into
I didn't
us.
see her.
Hello?
Brittany, you said the explanation that I gave of code switching was the worst.
Oh no, my goodness, I did not say that. Oh my goodness.
She was
I feel
referring
like
to mine.
Oh,
what?
you were talking about K's?
The first person that offered that explanation, that was
That was
comparing
me.
the two, the only thing that I had to say about that is that they, oh my goodness. I feel like code switching is a result of racism. I'm autistic, so I'm sorry for being anxious. Where I feel like mirroring and masking is a result of people like myself trying to just fit in normal conversations and just mirroring other people's behavior, where code switching is a result of decades and decades of repression where people of color have to try to fit in and pretend that there's something just to fit in with white people. Like I don't like that. That's sorry, just anxious.
Yeah. Hey, Kate,
I feel like it's
maybe
two
I
different
missed it, but I
things.
thought, yeah, give me a second, Brittany. Kate, maybe I missed it, but I don't know. It kind of sounds like a lot of not only what you said, but you know. Okay, am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure that it was explained just like that.
Maybe I misheard that. I'm sorry.
I used material conditions instead of racism. But yes, that's what it was explained to be. And we talked about how it is mirroring and masking are for social norms, and that white women never
Right.
switch.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
Like when you are code switching, you have to do it to feel safe. Like, I don't know, it just seems so much worse than just mirroring. Like if I mirror, then
It is.
I can walk away.
Right, Brittany, what it was explained was the difference.
Right, that's what I was trying to say.
But we explained the difference between the three.
I think the conversation got mistracked. I will leave it at that. I think there's an important instance for two things. One, understanding the difference between code switching, mirroring, and masking, and maybe that deserves. Maybe we need to throw that on the list, Kay, because it is something that affects people in different ways. Also, things do get lost in translation as far as like messaging and all this other stuff. But I always tell people read the room. Just my opinion. Read the room. W's in the chat for Patton, who sent a $5 YouTube super chat to say All good. $5 YouTube super chat to say cheers, bro. Patton, thank you so much for that $5 YouTube super chat. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Brittany, I think mm, 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 mm. Damn it, none of you
So,
are nicer than me, and so
oh, stop. So, Brittany, when you made the comment that that was the worst explanation, I explained 3 different things and how white women do not do one of them. And so I'm not sure if there was a confusion, what you heard, but everyone else seemed to get it. So I think that it's just would be a good idea to listen, in, but like no one also comes up on the panel and like tries to shield themselves immediately by using, their disability. So
unless you're Elon Musk.
well, we're not talking about him, thankfully.
Hmm.
So, I mean, and like now, because of this conversation, we have another white woman in the comments saying that she code switches, which is lending,
Which white woman? Get that white woman up here.
No, it's t-shirt time. Yes.
Where they at though?
I think she stopped commenting.
Hmm.
Swan has her hand up. How about that?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to figure out which one of you I wanted to like have speak, but like you, Swan, Frey, Falcon, maybe Jessica. Jessica was the only one that I felt like would have been able to use, gentle guidance. And I don't know. Swan, just do it. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'll just give you the floor. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, I was gonna say, I think one way that people could look at this if you're YT is that, so I work in education, right? And I cannot tell you how many times I had to pull Black parents aside and say, get your child evaluated, because what like the experiences of an autistic Black child is going to be, if they're not in the right environment, is that they may not necessarily get diagnosed properly. Like the journey. So basically, what I'm getting at is the journey of a Black autistic person having to code switch, having to mask, and then not having access to resources that a white T person who has autism would have. And this is why, listen, this is why I am the way that I am. A white T person, I'm going to judge you based on your ability to self-reflect and your ability to take accountability, right? And when people that are white T constantly are trying to compare their circumstances to us, or even the fact that they belong to a marginalized community to our community, it's a form of erasure, because we end up centering your experiences, and we don't talk about the fact that young Black children who are misdiagnosed have a much harder time navigating the world whilst being autistic and not having, the resources that they deserve to have and need to have. So y'all gotta work on that. Stop doing that erasure stuff.
Hey Swan, I heard a white man come on your live earlier today and said, well, Black people are racist because they say the C word and the H word. The what?
Yep.
Did you? I was spamming in your chat so hard. What's the C word and the H word?
So the C word, C record.
Oh, I know the word.
Yeah, but like
Cracker.
people don't even realize that's a classist.
Cracker and honky. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's a classist term. It was something that wealthy white people made up and used it against poor white people. So there's no history of oppression on the basis of race for that word. Now, H onky. This is an interesting one. That is a descriptive word because it describes white men that would drive through Black towns and they would solicit schmecks from young Black girls and Black women, and they would beat their horn. And that is right. Those are not racial slurs, y'all. They're not.
Nope. You know what I like to I choose violence often. And I like to say, because when they say, oh, you can't, well, it's the C word, and C word is just as bad as the N word. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll say cracker now. You say the N word, and if you won't do it, then you know that they're not equal. Like you know these things, but I don't know. Anyway,
So, Brittany, I just want to give you a little example, I guess, of what Swan is saying. My older brother that was born right before me, we were the closest in age, we were about a year apart. When he was in the fifth grade, he was, I want to say he was also autistic. When he was in the fifth grade, he was eloping on a school playground. Mind you, this is a fifth grader, but he also happened to be an autistic black child. And instead of being handled like a child with a developmental disability, he was chased by the school resource officer, tased, and handcuffed. So when we're talking about, intersection between race and disability, I understand the struggle of growing up with autism. And I will even say that masking can be more than just social, especially for autistic people who are higher support needs when it comes to accessing employment and things like that. I can see that argument for masking being a little bit more than that, but it does not mean that your experiences as a white autistic person are going to be the same, as a black person growing up with autism.
yeah.
And we were lucky that my brother was even diagnosed because I didn't get diagnosed until I was 21.
Yep. Brittany was saying, how does she unmute?
Hey,
Constance?
I just wanted to say that I really feel like I was taken out of context. I am a super advocate for everything that you're saying. I wasn't trying to put my own disability or anything like that above yours. My whole point was that black people, people of color, not just black people, but people of color are marginalized and they're not given enough attention. So when white people come on, like Elon Musk, and just says, I'm autistic, and then he makes like the, you know, schlotsy salute there, they just give him a pass, and that's not fair.
There comes in
So
the fall.
I think it was taken totally the wrong way. So
I think part of what a lot of people on the panel are taking a little bit of an issue with is that you came on to a live panel that was asking questions about the way that you had sent something in the comments, and you centered like your own struggles with speech and language before you answered the question, and you are on a panel with 4 other people that have openly already said that they were autistic. So
I got
it's
a
not.
question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were finished with your sentence.
that's fair.
Oh, I was
That's
just gonna say, so
fair.
it's not as if
This
you
is my
are
first
unique.
live, so
It's not as if you are uniquely in this space, and like this is something I have to tell my 6-year-old, that like just because you are autistic doesn't mean that you're the only autistic person in the room. So you have to take that, into account, and you can't always make that assumption. And you said some, regardless of what your intentions were, you said something that could be perceived and was perceived as harmful. And I think that's the difference there. And you, again, after saying something that had been perceived by people as harmful, you came up and immediately centered your developmental disability instead of addressing the way that what you had said had been perceived as harmful, and you are continuing to say that you were misunderstood or misinterpreted instead of simply acknowledging the fact that even though that's not what you meant, what you said, the impact of what you said was perceived as harmful.
Yeah. Hold on. Maureen, what's with the weird question? What what's with the weird
Okay,
question?
thank you.
No, yeah, if you get an opportunity, go back and take a look at the lives we did last week. I'll just say there was this the we did what was the topic? Um genuine discourse versus pure ego. The like yeah, the I guess the point that's trying to be made is like with having these conversations, um, finding the best way to actually hear each other and build those real connections and have those conversations is the most important thing. So, Maureen, you're being weird. Yeah. Brittany, thank you for coming up. I appreciate you for at least hopping up in the box and trying to
Yeah, I'm
let us know
sorry,
where you
guys.
are. No, no, you're good. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
spending time. All right, I'm gonna drop you down, guys. It's legitimately it's way past t-shirt time. Um, what did you say? Yeah. All right. Round robin, real quick. What you got? Falcon, really quick. What you got?
If we're going to talk about intersectionality, I would love to spend some more time talking to you next time about queerness and disability, specifically about queerness and autism, and how autism how masking was for a long time forced on autistic people through things like ABA therapy, and that the same man that created the methodology for what we now know as ABA therapy also created conversion therapy for gay people. And how that history and those intersections very much interlap. But tonight is not the conversation
It
for
is
that.
not, but you
I
guys
just
keep
wanted
adding
to.
stuff to my list.
That's not. I just wanted to highlight that there is another intersection there, both historically and that affects people modern day.
I absolutely love that because it highlights the point that there's so much to not only where people don't necessarily know, but it goes into the additional levels of people. Exactly. So on new levels unlocked. I fucking love that. That's a good call out.
But I want to highlight that because a lot of people center the social side of masking, and that is 100% true. For most autistic people, masking is purely a social thing. But for many autistic people, especially in previous generations that were forced into ABA therapies and into the physically violent versions of ABA therapies, I have, like I said, my older brother was autistic and diagnosed. And I'm actually grateful that I wasn't diagnosed with him because he was physically, abused by an ABA therapist. There is another intersection there. And for some autistic people and some queer people, that kind of masking is just as much a trauma response as well as related to their, access to material things like education and employment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Falcon, thank you for coming up. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Frey, what you got?
I don't know. Brittany made me a lot angry. Like I don't like when people like use their disability as a way of saying that they want to say something that's potentially going to be harmful to any community, but specifically the Black community in a Black space. and then be like, oh, well, forgive me because I'm this. It pisses me the F off, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because not only are you still harming the people in that community, you're now harming disabled people,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're saying I can't behave correctly because I'm autistic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to navigate in the world because I'm autistic. I don't know how to speak one way or the other because I'm autistic. And that is absolutely equivalently harmful. And it
Mm-hmm.
pisses me off. And I do mask because I've been taught to do that. But sometimes when I can't anymore, I don't, right? I just behave in the way I do, but I'm never going to say or do something harmful in my own behaviors
Mm-hmm.
because that's not a part of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's not this
And
special autism thing that's like, I'm randomly going to be racist because I'm autistic. I'm randomly going to be transphobic because I'm autistic. I'm randomly going to be homophobic because I'm autistic. That's not a thing. You can't do those types of things and you can't say that. It's really hurtful. It's really harmful. And there needs to be a discussion with it within intersectionalities. I'm not saying the correct word because I'm pissed off and I can't talk right now. Anyways, but
yeah, no,
um
you're all good.
I appreciate you, Santana. I appreciate Kay. I appreciate everyone on the panel. Thank you, Swan, for talking to me. Um, and I can't wait for next week.
Absolutely. Well, we still got one more night of this. Got one more night.
Yeah, but I won't be here because I have to
Oh,
work overnight. So I
uh,
won't even like I
tomatoes in
go
the
into
chat for
work at
free.
10 p.m.
Tomatoes in the
Hey,
chat for free. Mm.
Knock that off right
have to
now.
work.
Whatever.
I love
Frey,
work.
of course, thank you for coming up. You know how I feel about you. So
Thank you.
I love you. Have a good night.
Let me too.
And Chloe, that's what I'm talking about, Chloe. Look, I got a few riders down there that threw tomatoes at you. So there's that.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Um I want to say something really quick because I saw a quick comment and I promise we're going to keep going. Big things specifically said, give her a break. She apologized. Big things. I really want you to understand where we're coming from because this is not a place of malice or like uh a place of like hate or anything like that, but I think it's really important that we use these type of experiences as learning experiences. I mean, no one like yelled at her, no one cursed her out, no one did any of that. But like having the ability to like the ability to I don't want to say criticize each other, but hold each other accountable. It's like it's really it's super important, and you don't let those things slide because it's not a thing of like, oh, you got to make sure you check somebody. No. It's a learning experience, but two, if you don't do these type of things and if you don't have these type of conversations and you don't open up this uncomfortable can of worms, then you tend to breed people that don't necessarily understand things, people that actually conflate things. Even like when we were having a conversation around like code switching earlier, and it was so important to call out the difference between code switching and mirroring, right? Because if you don't say certain things, then people start to think that you get stuff like white people saying that black people can be racist when they don't know what race is or what racism is, or like they don't know anything, and so that happens. Swan,
I saw that comment and
what comment?
that comment the one that I think you said like you apologize or whatever.
Oh yeah.
The break, yeah. So with that one, that's very dismissive to the lived experiences of Black people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to tell you how to think, big thing, but I'm just saying that's the impact of your words, right? Which is why accountability is so important, because now we're seeing this domino effect, right? Brittany came up to the panel and did struggle with taking accountability for what was done so that it could be squashed, is still saying things in the comments section, and people are catering to her feelings as opposed to understanding the impact of what she did and what she said in that moment, right? How are we going to progress if we can't do that? There was also a YT woman in the comment section that said, well, I think that Brittany did good. Wait a minute. You're not marginalized, are you? Why do you think that you get to be the person who decides how like negative that is, right? Or how harmful that is? It's not up to her. It's not her experiences. And I think that that's the part that we really got to pay attention to, and that is also the privilege that YT women have, is that people will automatically see her as someone who has a right to having their emotions catered to automatically without hesitation.
You know, the interesting thing about that is, though, with most people, if you actually replace the thing that you're talking about with the thing that they can associate like their harm with, they immediately get it, right? You remember the conversation we had on colorism, Swan?
That was interesting.
I've never seen so many black people act like they don't understand racism in my life.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. All right. Swan, anything else?
These discussions are really good. I think that they're very important. I think people really need to. I've seen this happen a couple times now. There was a younger woman in the chat named Kat who was listening to the conversation and came back the next day with questions. And then same thing with Frey. He came back with questions the next day. And I think that that's really important. And I think that's something that we should all do just to further our understandings. Obviously, we can't break everything down here, but we can discuss the things and build off of the things that we've already spoken about. And, you know, I think it's important for people to make sure their wheels are turning while they're not in the live, you know, because that's when it counts. That's when you got to stand in the paint.
I know I'm gonna regret saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Well, fuck it, I'm not gonna regret it. Kay's gonna regret it. So, I often after the live, and not just necessarily after the live, but at different times, I get questions, like follow-up questions from people who was like, "Hey, I heard this on your live, and like, what about this or what about that, or can you like da 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 da?" And I love the fact that a lot of people don't let the conversation end here. Or even like I was saying, Swan, when people were saying like, "Hey, does she have a YouTube?" And I was just telling Kay this earlier, like I am shocked at the amount of people that watch these lives after we're off the live. Like literally today, I had there's people watching the lives from last week and like commenting like we're live and at that very moment, like adding to the conversations we were having last week. So it's a big thing.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Swan. You have a good night. Hey, is this your backup?
Today by my edges,
okay.
so everybody follow me on this account.
Follow Swan on this account. I was about to say, did you follow? Because I followed you earlier, but you know, I was like, you know, I'm funny with my follows, and especially I try not to follow like too many backups. So you know, so like I'm super funny about my follows. So anyway, you guys follow this account for Swan. All right, Swan. Have a good night. Bye. Maxine, what you got? Maxine, are you there? Mm. 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 Maxine, would you like to see a magic trick? Gots to be more careful. Jessica, what you got?
Hey, so I was actually hoping you were going to keep Brittany up here because I actually had a little bit of a pushback on what she said about the whole deal where people were giving Elon a pass. No, they weren't. I started seeing a whole bunch more people that were talking about autism or autism parents, and hosting lives and stuff like that about specific deals like that. right after Elon had done that on the stage. And even I had popped up onto a live where somebody was trying to say, well, it was just a spasm. It was just a twitch. It was just him stimming. And I ended up popping up on another live when that whole deal happened. I think it was like the day or two after. And I had to flat out say, no, that's not stimming. It can be, but as a 40-year-old man, he should know how to be able to self-regulate himself if he starts to get overwhelmed in those certain circumstances. I mean, I learned that as a kid, being autistic.
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk is a jackass, so like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's that. Yeah, fuck it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is a jackass, and I am not in no way, shape, nor form speaking to anyone's disabilities or whatever. I would never do that, but speaking to the individual, Elon Musk is a jackass. So there's that. Anyway.
But yeah, it just grinds my gears when people say that people are giving stuff like that a pass. I mean, your disability is not an excuse for your behavior at all.
I completely agree.
I had to learn that as a kid. I actually had to help my husband learn that because when we first started dating, that's exactly what would happen because he's also autistic. He has ADHD and stuff like that. And he figured out real quick that that doesn't fly with me. It can be it can like be something that like adds on to what's actually going on, but it's not an excuse for the behavior that you're displaying.
Yep. I agree. Well, Jessica, thank you for coming up. I appreciate you so much.
No problem.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Do 45, 47. Do 45, 47. W's in the chat for Wendy. Wendy sent a $5 donation. I feel so ignorant on these topics, and I appreciate your panel. I learned so much. Thanks, Wendy. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. And listen, I say this all the time. Like people hear the word ignorant and they think it's a bad thing. Like being willfully ignorant is a bad thing, but being ignorant of a topic is not a bad thing at all. Like I legitimately, a lot of these conversations that I have, I learn way more than I actually know on a lot of these topics. And if I didn't have someone like super smart helping me through a lot of these things, I don't think that I would be able to hold these type of conversations the way that I do. So Wendy, thank you for the donation, but just thank you for being here and being a part of the conversation and listening and learning and contributing to the community as a whole. So there's that. Okay, what you got?
Falcon brought up a topic that she wanted to talk about, and it kind of, when I had given you some of the notes for closeted survival, kind of fell into that. And I think like one of the things that because not on the background, it's not really kind of getting talked about. I did invite a couple people to come tomorrow because I think that there's a large disparity, specifically in the Black community, of like for survival, not having your child tested because there's something going on, because it's another hardship. And then not, if they come out as queer, then not, wanting them to be out because survival, because there's already, so much to survive, And so I really hope that Falcon comes back and talks more about that tomorrow, because I think it feeds into that closeted, protection. And I'd like to, have her speak on that more. And then I'm just going to say this one more time, because I truly do feel it is not Black people's job to educate us. So I know Brittany is still in the chat, and so she says she still doesn't understand. So I'm going to give it just one quick run through. We understand that code switching code switching is not done out of racism, out of white supremacy, and having to assimilate to some social ridiculousness when they should be able to speak the language that is inherent to them. Mirroring is when you are trying to, that's what some of us do who have maybe lax language, or maybe if you come from a region and have a strong, you may change the words that you use, and then that's nothing to do with code switching. It's mirroring behavior to be socially acceptable, and masking is to also try to fit in with social cues and with social norms for like neurotypical people. So if you don't understand it after those three things, and the multiple resources I've seen people give in the comments of YouTube videos and podcasts, I'm so sorry, but you're just going to have to read on it on your own.
Read a book. Kay, you know what's interesting?
Oh, and absolutely, yes. Falcon, absolutely right. Masking is much more than speech. It's behaviors, trying to it's so much more. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know what's interesting? As part of my code switching is there's certain words that I won't say around like white people. All right. So even like when I'm at work, not only am I mindful of my dialect, but I leave certain words out of my vocabulary um, because of the way that the words are portrayed, and it's a thing. I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, and it's a big thing, and it just keeps getting, it just becomes like this norm. And you know how much I love Sean, and she one time was on a panel and she was like, how you hear me here is how you hear me at work. And I was
That
like,
is so true.
but that's honestly, that's what needs to happen. Like,
Yeah.
it's its own language. It's, I mean, I don't understand why, like, I mean, I understand why the system like is systeming, but I'm just saying, like, I love Sean's approach. I think she's like, I think that needs to be the norm. So, and it is no different. Like, it does not reap intelligence. It does not, like, it absolutely doesn't. And so when people use, words to describe it, and like all the words that it's been caused, or all the words that it's been called in the past, it's just, if people look up African American vernacular English and read about it and see that it's its own pidgin language and how it is, like, it also has regional dialects, like, it's so important just to know.
Yep. I agree. Hey, Kay, you want to see something?
Yep, do it.
You don't even know what I'm gonna do. You think you know, but see, that's how I know. Like, you don't actually. Hold on, dang it. You think you know, but that's how I know you. Like, one, you don't know me because you don't know what I'm about to do. Boom, do this. Look what I got. You see that?
You're such a nerd.
We're about to we're gonna take this experience to the next level.
I'm gonna start telling people of exactly what kind of nerd you are.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't believe you. I'm too damn cool. I'm
No.
cooler than a polar bear's toenail.
Boom.
Boom.
Say I got proof, receipts, and all.
Okay.
Magic trick.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god. Stop fucking lying.
Don't come up here, capping in front of the chat. I'm so cool.
I think a Reddit page on Santana needs to be done. Could I just bring up one other thing that was brought up earlier? I know we're so late, but so we were talking about how this space is inclusive of everyone, and doesn't, yes, you are a Black host, and that, has a certain more demographic to watch, but you really do try to involve everyone in the conversations. And how other spaces are run, and how when some people then join into
Listen.
space, that there's a way that like they're so used to speaking or typing, I should say, or in other lives, that when they come to a new space, if you come from a large debate creators live, so I'm not going to say names, but if you're coming from a different space and like these topics are new to you, and you think you already have it figured out, I just want to let you know that you should sit and listen for a little while before interjecting in the conversation, because those other chats are wild, and there is no decorum whatsoever, and people just spout off. And I think it's important because those larger creators have wanted to go onto other people's panels before, and have, to try to bring awareness to a marginalized, space on important topics, crazy important topics. And so they're there for support, but the entire chat is like 15-year-old boys, like just like, or girls at that point, like just like fangirling because somebody's in a box. So I'm, and like last night you had made a comment about how you had been called a misogynist before. And that made it into another Discord where there was a conversation being had around that. And
About me?
of course.
Oh, okay. That's what's up.
I just, I lurk sometimes.
Yeah.
So when people like do not understand the context of the conversations we're having, it's super hard, like, to then go off into some other, space and like think you know what you were talking about. So I really do appreciate, like, if you do come from another
that's fine.
space, I totally love that you come and you listen. And I see like a ton of people have come over and then just really, really learned a lot of information or have DM'd. But I just, anything that like my folk need, like, please come to me. Don't come to Santana and ask him for resources. It's not his job. So like, you can come to me. You get 3 messages for free. So
yeah. I'll also say this, right? I absolutely love the fact that that people that do come from other spaces, because like the spaces that I frequent and the places that people see me on like certain panels, you see me in places that I want to be in, and not only that, like the ones that I frequent, or I'm always there. It's because of the people, right? And so I love the fact that there is times where people come from those other spaces and they do get an opportunity to learn, because I mean, we talked about that earlier, how they don't actually get that, and they don't understand because there's so much in a bubble. And then you have people like, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna call her name because I'm super proud, like Trinity has been here with us now like every night for the last couple of nights, and she's actually a part of our community now. And like I think there's a lot to say about growing and having those opportunities for people to learn and to, you know, because not every space is the same, and not every space, you don't get the same thing. So I don't know. It's a lot to it, Kay.
no, I think you're right. And I think like for people who come in and like they don't say anything in the chat and they're like listening and learning, like if you are able and you feel comfortable enough, even if it's scary, join the panel one time and say like, I'd like to learn more about this, and I can give a little information on this. If this is not the week, like this doesn't pertain to you, if queerness doesn't pertain to you, if there's just these things don't pertain to you, fine, this week isn't it. But if next week we're talking about, religion, or we're talking about
Jeebus,
deconstructing from certain things, or talking about, I don't want to give any of the other topics away. You'll get mad. But so, like, if we're talking about something that does resonate with you, I really think come up and be part of the conversation, because late nights, and the reason that, like, I got sucked in was because it was different than any other thing that was being done on TikTok. It was a genuine conversation, one at a time, and it was pre-election, and it was all politics. But it was important, and we had conversations, and yeah, we had some, trolls here and there, but we had meaningful conversations. We met, like, I'm just going to say Sarah, because no one will really know exactly who that is unless she's here. But we met Sarah, who changed her whole perspective, and now is hosting her own lives talking about.
She?
Talking
I didn't
about
know that.
Just talking about things that she's learned, and she's calling out things that she's learned, and she's she's just so. I have been honored to be part of this space, and I genuinely feel like it's very, it's just a really great community. And so I just think that if you come here from somewhere else, if you come from another live that's like your primary one that you always listen to, and this is information to go into anyone's live. Like, if you go into Swan's live, just sit and listen for a while, especially if you're I'm speaking to my people. If you go into Swan's live and you sit and you listen, the wealth of knowledge. If you go into Solid's live, the wealth of knowledge. There's just so many great creators that give so much knowledge. But when you go in there, read the room, figure out how things work in there. Don't be in there for 5 minutes, hit the request button, and think you know what's going on. So
they do it though.
That's what I would
definitely do it. They definitely do it. They absolutely do that, Kay. Also, don't use caps. Caps are for me. So no one don't. And if you see me doing it, don't worry about it. Mind your business. Kay.
Kick me, please.
Hold on now. Hold on. You know what? Also, you funny. Okay. Guess who's funny too though. Boom. Yeah. How about that? Didn't feel good, did it? I'll take it all. I'll give you respect. You gotta watch it. Massive W's in the chat for Carol. Carol came through and dropped $50 towards the nightly donation goal. Carol sent $50 to close out the night and said good night. Carol, you're freaking awesome. I love you so much. Thank you for the $50 donation. Guys, it's been another good night. We are way over. This is crazy. Way over. We got to get out here. I don't even have a lot to say because we got to go. We'll be back tomorrow. Late nights tomorrow. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. If you did not join the panel tonight and you want to get in on this conversation, like Kay just said, you can't. You can't. No, I'm sorry. I just read somebody. You can get in on the conversation. Somebody said, where can you get this hat? And I said, you can't. I'm sorry. That came off completely wrong. If you want to join the conversation, tomorrow is the what time Eastern? It's 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. If you guys want to actually get in on a conversation, especially on these topics, right? Because after tomorrow, they're gone, and then we roll into the next level and all this other stuff. Anyway, we're gonna get out of here. Hey, if you look up at the top and it says follow, that means you're not following me. This is the main account now. This is the main account. Make sure you hit that follow button. Also, grab a subscription. If you're a subscriber, you get access to the Discord, a bunch of really amazing resources, great people. You get a bunch of really cool emotes. You get access to a fast pass to join the panel for late nights, because there's a lot of people that's in the box that, try to get up, and I try to let people speak. So if you want to actually, get a fast pass to get priority, grab a subscription. You also get what's called tag me in when I'm sparring. If you like to actually join me and debate, You get like 5 minutes to come up and debate. And last but not least, you get what's called for Brunch with My Creator, you get what's called My Question, where you get to actually you get priority to come up and ask your favorite creator whatever question you have. So go ahead and grab a subscription. We got to go. We need what, 15 more? So yeah, grab us up. Anyway, guys, we got to get out of here. Hit the follow button. See you tomorrow. Guys, thank you for all the taps, the likes, the shares. Thank you for all the gifts. Thank you all for being amazing. Thank you for a wonderful, wonderful night. I love you all. And as always,